People are wondering why it is so noisy today and what happened. Recently, a terrible hero, Murim, appeared, against whom the alliances can do nothing. They say this guy is just over 20 and he is already so good at martial arts. Rumor has it that even the mightiest forces cannot stop him. One of the interlocutors doubts his strength, but the other confirms the rumors. People say that with the hilt of the sword, he controls the harmony of heaven and earth. He calls down lightning in the sky and a storm on the earth. However, it seems that people always exaggerate everything. In fact, he is proficient not only in martial arts, but also in dark magic. With this magic, he controls human hearts and souls, defiling them. He turns people into his slaves with shining eyes. Many highly respected martial artists fell into his trap. This demon swordsman from the heretic faction is Yu Hyul. One of the people screams at him in horror, cursing him for using dark magic. The pink-haired girl reports that the ambush in the rear has been destroyed. Another girl gloats that she leaked confidential information to fuel discontent with the alliance. The man shouts that they have all been brainwashed, but is interrupted and told to shut up. A girl with white hair and red eyes looms over him, telling him he is too noisy. Yu Hyul's wanted poster describes him as a ruthless, cruel, and arrogant villain. Yu Hyul looks at the flyer and someone tells him it's time to go back. In the past, he had neither money nor a sharp sword to protect himself. The girl screams in despair that he cannot protect anything. Therefore, the boy firmly decides that he must become strong. He vows to become the greatest martial artist. The boy invites the girl to make a promise to each other for the future. In the present tense, people in the tavern are drinking and talking happily. The girl with the spear smiles as she listens to stories about the village of 6 clans. She thanks the merchant guild for helping her get there safely. She is offered to officially work with the guild, but she needs to ask the master. The girl thanks him for the offer with a smile, but doesn't think she'll agree. She says she has a goal and a vow she cannot break. The older man advises her to be extremely careful in this place. He whispers that a monster has appeared in the village of 6 clans. This monster hunts martial artists and boasts of their corpses in a bag. The girl with the spear heard about 2 supernovas that shook the world of martial arts. A dark figure in a long cloak suddenly enters the tavern. People recognize him because there are 2 bright stars of martial arts now. They are said to be the greatest villains of our time who will stop at nothing. It's the unpredictable demon swordsman Yu Hyul, and he's asking where the master is. The tavern worker timidly replies that the owner has left and offers to show the guest to his seat. The worker offers to take away the bloody bag, which he mistook for luggage. Yu Hyul angrily grabs the worker's hand, ordering him not to touch his loot. The frightened worker apologizes in horror. Yu Hyul says there's no need to worry because he'll put him out of his misery. The girl with the spear blocks Yu Hyul's attack aimed at the worker. She smirks and offers him a duel, as she doesn't like his behavior. The onlookers are horrified and can't believe that Jo Yoon challenged him to a duel. Jo Yoon calls Yu Hyul a villain and promises to change the martial arts world by killing him. She confidently points her finger at him and announces that Jo Yun is here. Yu Hyul looks confused and doesn't seem to understand what's going on. The girl tells him not to make up excuses and not to fool her. She declares that she has come here to fight him and urges him to attack. Yu Hyul asks with a serious expression if she really wants it that badly. He asks her to wait outside while he gets ready, but she suspects he's trying to escape. The men panic and realize that this is the very monster they were talking about. They say that for the sake of victory, neither the orthodox nor the heretic will disdain cowardly tricks. Yu Hyul is a cruel demon who has no equal. Jo Yun thanks you for your concern and prepares for the duel. She declares with a smile that she will become the greatest in the world, and people like him will fear her. Yu Hyul, in tears, thinks that it's time to run away because he just wanted to sell his loot. There's a dead boar in the bag, and the guy doesn't understand what's going on. He cries out in despair why everyone always judges him by his appearance. He considers himself a talentless, third-rate warrior who doesn't have any martial arts skills anyway. He remembers the girl stabbing him in the face with a spear without warning and decides she's crazy. He needs to escape somehow because he doesn't want to be turned into mincemeat and he can't die now. At least he can't die until he keeps his promise. Meanwhile, a girl on the street shouts impatiently, challenging the sword demon to a duel. Suddenly, a woman in a large hat appears and stops her. This woman with white hair and red eyes asks about a duel for life with an unpredictable sword demon. People in the crowd recognize her as Bayek Seolhwa, the wielder of the Sun and Moon Sword. She is the disciple of the previous top master, the star of the Orthodox faction, and the complete opposite of the sword demon. Jo Yoon thinks that if she joins forces with her, no one will recognize her. She approaches Baek Seol-hwa and declares that she has also come for the Murim hero who is in this tavern. Baek Seol-hwa smiles coquettishly and says that she has finally found him, greatly embarrassing Jo Yoon. Jo Yoon invites Baek Seol-hwa to join her to defeat Yoo Hyul together. At this time, Yoo Hyul decides that he must report what is happening to the higher-ups. He considers the duel illegal from the very beginning and, as a law-abiding citizen, cannot accept it. Suddenly, a stranger appears behind him, causing him to cry out in fright. Yoo Hyul falls to the floor and begs her to wait because he hasn't said anything yet. Baek Seol-hwa says that she has finally found it and has been waiting for this moment for many years. And Yoo Hyul looks at her in complete bewilderment. Baek Seol-hwa thinks she has become the greatest martial artist and has gained power and money. She recalls how she proposed marriage to him. Meanwhile, people carry the unconscious Jo Yoon out of the tavern and shout for a doctor. Everyone realizes that the Sun Moon Sword and the Sword Demon are left in the tavern, and they wonder if the two stars will collide. Yoo Hyul says with a stupid look that he saw that unpredictable Sword Demon run out. He thinks that there is one immutable rule that must be learned from all the rumors of the Murim. If someone breaks down a door, they are definitely crazy, and this woman is clearly crazy. He tries to leave, saying goodbye and calling her madam. She stops him abruptly, saying that she is not a madam. She gently touches his face and asks him to say her name, like before. He grabs her and says the name Sol, then hesitantly asks, "Lady Sol." He recalls that 15 years ago, during times of famine, he was sold into slavery and began to serve Baek Seol-hwa, who was 3 years younger than him. She was the reason he went to Janghu and the place he wanted to return to. His beginning and his end. He can't believe that this isn't a dream and that this man is now sitting next to him and drinking tea. They are sitting at the table and he does not understand why she is sitting so close. She asks if he would like some tea and he quickly agrees. She asks why he behaves like this and speaks formally because he promised not to communicate like this. He sheepishly apologizes and she asks him to stop calling her lady. He sheepishly says that he is glad to see her anyway and she calls him Sola. She replies that she is also very happy, and he thinks that she is so beautiful that he can't stop smiling. He looks at her sword with confusion and asks if she has also become a martial artist. She replies that she tried very hard to keep her promise, and he asks again, surprised. He remembers how, as a child, he vowed to become strong and great, and then proposed to her. In a panic, he screams that there was no subject in the promise, and she notes that he has not forgotten. She says that she heard rumors about an unpredictable sword demon and began searching for it. It is surprising to hear that he is harassing women and jumping from place to place, and he is shouting in rage at who is spreading such rumors. She doesn't care what they say about him, because the most important thing is that they kept their promise. She became a master, so now he must become her husband. He sits at the table and says that he hasn't answered anything yet. In Murim, they say that there are 2 things that even the most powerful master cannot avoid. The first is the passage of time, and the second is rental scams. Among all the fortunate days of his stay in Janghu, this one stands out in particular. As he cried, not knowing if he was the sword demon, someone extended a helping hand to him. The man was a merchant from the Eternal Trade Guild who asked if he needed money. This woman, whose name is Han Kyung, asks if he is here to pay off his debts. Baek Seol-hwa, standing next to him, confirms this and says that she heard that he owes her a large sum of money. She accuses Han Kyung of using this debt to control people as she pleases. Yoo Hyul feels very awkward in this situation. He cries out in despair that kindness is met with hostility. He recalls that it was financial assistance in the form of support, and not some kind of abuse. He thinks that Sul has become a good master and is now confident that he is on the same level as her. She asks what he was doing while she was working hard to become a master, causing him to panic. The merchant explains that there was a misunderstanding and they simply borrowed his name in exchange for a small favor. Baek Seol-hwa seriously asks how much this favor cost. The saleswoman replies that if she insists, she will name an exorbitant price. She says that if you add up all the help and expenses, it comes to about 100,000 nannies. He is impressed and says that he knew he could count on her as the top merchant of one of the top 5 guilds. He says that he heard the amount, and at that moment, Baek Seol-hwa throws a bag of money on the table. She pours out 100,000 nyans from the bag, and Yoo Hyul wonders where she got that much money. He thinks it's too much, but she replies that the money will still be his when they get married. She adds with a smile that she doesn't feel sorry for anything for him. The merchant confirms that there are more than 100,000 nians in the bag and asks if she will let him go now. The merchant suddenly hugs him and tells him that their relationship cannot be measured by money, which infuriates Baek Seolhwa. Yoo Hyul screams in horror at the vendor while she whispers to him not to move. Baek Seolhwa orders her to move away while she can still walk, and lightning envelops her body. He panics and screams for Sola to calm down and that she has misunderstood everything, shielding the vendor with his body. He keeps yelling at her to calm down because this woman is very important to him. Her anger turns to sadness and she says sorry, leaving him confused. He tries to stop her, but she leaves and he gives in, saying that everything is fine. The saleswoman asks what's so good about it, and then states that, as a saleswoman, she's good at reading the situation. The merchant says that he prevented an unwanted marriage, even though it turned out awkwardly, and asks if that is not what he wanted. He walks down the street, thinking that Solhwa has become disillusioned with him, deciding that he is cheating on her. He recalls how, when they first met, he was a servant and she was the daughter of high society, and he vowed to bridge that gap. She had put so much effort into keeping her promise to become a master, and he didn't want to let her down. He hears passers-by talking about a woman running past with a pale face, unable to control herself. He sees a figure on a rock in the distance during a thunderstorm and wonders if it could all end in tragedy. He grabs a passerby with an angry face and asks where she ran. Without thinking for a second, he rushed where he was pointed. He can't believe that Sul could do this, but he still finds a lonely figure on the edge of the cliff. He screams no in horror and promises to marry her or do whatever she wants. He grabs the figure, who turns out to be an old man, and he asks if he will marry him. He embarrassedly lets go of the old man, apologizes, and says that he was mistaken. The old man says that he can't just leave, but he, embarrassed, shouts that he was simply mistaken. He wonders if Solhwa didn't feel bad, then what was she thinking about? He reflects on the fact that one should not neglect feelings. He asks the old man who he is, and sees a strange scene where two other people are fighting with a tree. He moves on, thinking about the doctor's words and Sul's feelings. He scolds himself for thinking so seriously about the madman's words and sees Seolhwa, who invites him in. He is shocked, and she says that she was here the whole time and just got some fresh air when she arrived in the village. He looks at her and quietly asks if she had been crying. He panics and asks if she is turning him down because of what happened. She says that he got it all wrong because she knows that he is not like that, but he is ready to do anything just to marry her. He realizes that she is right and with tears in his eyes says that he cannot marry her. She sadly accepts his words and says that in that case she will go. He suddenly grabs her hand and shouts that she didn't mean it that way. He explains that he receives a maximum of 200 nannies a month. He says that he's renting this shack from a friend. All the rumors about him are lies, and he's not as cool as she thinks. In the past, he asked her to love him even if he was nobody. He hugs her and asks her to wait a little longer, promising to keep his promise and propose to her again. He is also ready to be patient, and she, with tears in her eyes, agrees to wait. She suddenly hugs him tightly from behind. She says that if that's what he wants, she'll wait until the wedding, which shocks him. She pins him against the wall, kisses him, and says it's for them. She whispers that their children will be at their wedding too, while he blushes in embarrassment. Meanwhile, a rumor spreads throughout the city that the star of the Orthodox sect has subjugated the star of the non-Orthodox sect. People are debating whether it was really the Sun-Moon sword, and an eyewitness confirms it. Rumors are twisted, and now it is said that the unpredictable sword demon has taken his session of the Sun and Moon sword hostage. Eventually, news spreads that the unpredictable sword demon has defeated the star of the Orthodox sect. The girl with pink hair reads the report and says that it is getting interesting. Another woman says that one star swallowed another. The pink-haired girl smiles maliciously, confident that the next greatest in the world will belong to her clan. Meanwhile, Baek Seolhwa smiles serenely, surrounded by cherry blossom petals, unaware of the plot afoot. The furious owner of the house challenges the unpredictable sword demon to battle, determined to end everything once and for all. The enraged man shouts that he has been waiting for this moment and will not back down even a step. Suddenly, a mysterious woman with a sword appears behind the man, asking a creepy question about today. The woman, with icy calm, hints that today is the day of his death, which horrifies the man completely. Suddenly, the frightened man begins to cry and calls the mysterious stranger his mistress. The owner of the house starts shouting, accusing the girl of non-payment and threats, despite her apologies. His anger only increases at the sight of the house in disarray and the dead boar on the floor. Yu Hail intervenes in the conversation, offering a boar as rent, which completely infuriates the owner. The young man tries to understand what is happening, surprised by the heroine's strange behavior and her words about the owner. The young man tries to explain that he made a promise to serve the little girl, but the owner of the house does not believe him. The landlord is shocked when he finds out that the girl is Baek Hwa, and all the rumors turned out to be true. The owner of the house tells the guy that the whole village is already buzzing with news of their union. The landlord recalls gossip he hadn't paid attention to, while the hero tries to understand what they were talking about. Terrifying rumors say that an unpredictable sword demon has hypnotized and controlled the sun and moon sword. The young man is amazed at how much reality has been distorted, although the hypnosis seems more plausible to the owner of the house than real care. The embarrassed landlord watches this idyllic scene, realizing that the couple is attracting too much attention. The guy realizes that the whole world is watching their union, and the consequences of this attention could be unpredictable. Baek Seolhwa gently reassures the young man, promising to be by his side no matter what happens. The young man squeezes his hand, determined to find a proper home for them. The young man vows to become a true master so that the world can never separate them again. The hero looks at Baek Seolhwa tenderly, promising himself to proudly propose in the future. The idyll is interrupted by the angry cry of the owner of the house, demanding money for rent. The girl feels relieved after repaying the debt, although she's still ashamed of yesterday's events. The landlord holds a bag of money with a crazy smile, dreaming of buying a house with it. The hero resolutely refuses, declaring that the money belongs to Solhwa, and they will save up for housing themselves. The heroine gently takes the young man by the hand, smilingly correcting him that this is now their shared money. The owner of the house watches the couple leave, reminding them to pay the rent on time. The landlord asks the young people not to destroy his house with their fighting techniques. Yu Heel smiles and assures that everything will be fine. Suddenly, a huge bonfire attracts the attention of the crowd, foreshadowing the beginning of something sinister. A pink-haired girl jumps out of the flames, shouting the name of the unpredictable sword demon. The stranger declares herself the next head of the Four Evils cult. The pink-haired girl reveals her name, Poison Phoenix Tanhei, shocking the boy. Tanky points at the hero, ordering him to hurry up and leave. Baek Seolhwa stands up to protect the boy, and lightning envelops her body, ready to strike. The poisonous phoenix recognizes the sword of the sun and moon, smiling ominously at an old acquaintance. Tanhei is surprised that the rumors turned out to be true, and the heroine actually stands up for the sword demon. The pink-haired girl unleashes her dark energy, promising to reveal a secret weapon and destroy them. The young man tries to understand the motives for the arson, while the owner of the house screams in despair over the ruins of his home. The poisonous phoenix Tanhei, up to his neck in the ground, only mocks what is happening, fully justifying his nickname. Tanhei grins evilly, promising to become the next head of the family and warning that this is far from the end. Suddenly, a mysterious ally appears from an ambush, leaving the young man in complete shock. The mysterious stranger turns out to be an elite assassin from the Tang Dynasty's secret squad. This quiet demon turns out to be the same girl from the warring group, to Tanha's great joy. The hero, completely perplexed, tries to figure out why all this chaos was created. The poisonous phoenix puts on a whole performance, presenting itself as a hero of justice, saving him. The owner of the house is furious and demands that the house be returned to him, while Tanhei calls the arson a classic tactic. The silent demon spreads a new lie that the sword demon has taken Baek Seolhwa's parents hostage. The young man remembers how just a few seconds ago, Tanhei screamed at Baek Seolhwa to die. The true purpose is revealed. The silent demon's original plan was Baek Seolhwa. The reason for this hatred lies in the past, when the silent demon suffered a humiliating defeat in the battle with the sword of the sun and moon. The girl thirsts for revenge, but doubts her powers, looking at the smoking mountain in the distance. The cunning plan was to first subdue the sword demon and then rescue Baek Seolhwa, killing two birds with one stone. When asked if they know each other, Baek Seolhwa coldly replies in the negative, causing a storm of indignation among the captives. Tanky bursts into a scream, unable to believe such disdain from her sworn rival. The poisonous phoenix furiously declares that she is far from the first person Baek Seolhwa has humiliated in this way. The pink-haired girl calls for an end to everything for a good cause, thereby involuntarily admitting her guilt. Baek Seolhwa lands a powerful blow that the silent demon barely manages to block, but new enemies are discovered in the forest. The poisonous phoenix Tanhae, with false regret, declares that kindness is answered by taking hostages. Two women are taken hostage, and the sight of one of them leaves the young man in complete shock. Tanhae threatens the hero that everything will end badly if he does not surrender, but the young man looks at the hostages in confusion. The pink-haired girl furiously screams at the hero to stop pretending, because this is his mother. The young man calmly says that his mother died when he was 5 years old, which leaves Tanha stunned. The elderly hostage angrily shouts that her son's name is Yu Hyun, not Yu Hyul, further confusing the situation. Tanhae breaks into a scream of despair, ordering everyone to be silent and surrender immediately. Completely perplexed, the poison phoenix doesn't understand why no one is listening to her and why Baek Seolhwa is on this demon's side. A silent demon holds a blade to the old woman's throat, threatening to kill her if the hero does not surrender. The young man rushes to intercept the killer, which causes Tanha genuine bewilderment. The hero recalls recent rumors that the sword demon's parents were taken hostage. The young man desperately screams that it is not his mother trying to reach the crowd. Observers in the crowd whisper contemptuously that the boy is ready to renounce his own mother for the sake of salvation. The poisonous phoenix Tanhae realizes that she has been misinformed about the so-called Sahidan family. Thoughts about family honor and the nickname of the poisonous phoenix force the girl to act. All the achievements, pride, and status of the greatest genius of the new generation are at stake. Baek Seolhwa addresses the hero, but her words cause Tanhae to fall into a fit of uncontrollable rage. Surrounded by a poisonous aura, the girl bursts out of the ground and rushes into the attack with a scream. The heroine is not going to let this happen and resolutely rushes to intercept. Baek Seolhwa easily deflects the blow, demonstrating her complete superiority in strength. The quiet demon grins as he reminds us that in the heat of battle, someone missed something. Suddenly, a dark needle pierces the hero's back, taking everyone by surprise. Baek Seolhwa desperately catches the falling boy, shouting his name. The girl looks at the wounded guy with horror, feeling guilty and helpless. The injured young man tries to calm Baek Seolhwa down in a weak voice, telling her that everything is okay. The young man tenderly embraces his beloved, finding comfort in her arms. The hero apologizes for making the girl worry so much. The landlord is confused and doesn't understand why the guy is so calm, although the wound looks serious. The poisonous phoenix Tanhae is shocked by their calm, because no one believes in the mortal danger of a simple needle. The pink-haired girl gleefully reveals her insidious plan, explaining that the needle was laced with the poison of the fragrant root. The young man is horrified to realize that he has become a victim of a deadly poison developed by the Sichuan Tang clan. Tanhae describes with glee the painful effects of the poison, which is already spreading throughout the hero's body. The young man analyzes the poison's effects with surprising calm as a green aura envelops his wound. The poisonous phoenix reveals the diabolical mechanism of the poison, which uses internal energy to multiply bacteria. The hero understands the full horror of the situation, because the more internal energy a person has, the faster death comes. Tanhae triumphantly declares that his own strength will kill the young man and calls upon the poison to take effect. To everyone's surprise, nothing happens to the hero, and he looks at his beloved in bewilderment. The poison phoenix checks its needle in panic, unable to understand why the deadly poison did not work. Suddenly, the pink-haired girl falls to the ground with a wild scream, causing everyone to bewilder. Tanhae wakes up in an unfamiliar room in different clothes, completely unable to understand how she ended up there. The poisonous phoenix Tanhae wakes up in an unfamiliar room, where she is met by the same sword demon. The young man mockingly explains that he brought her here because she was convulsing beautifully. The guy asks with icy calm if she wanted to remain in such a miserable state. The pink-haired girl realizes that the only way to bypass the poison's effects is to have absolute control over her internal energy. Tanhae realizes that before her is a master with inner strength equal to the head of the clan. Completely perplexed, Poison Phoenix asks why her enemy showed mercy and spared her. The hero recalls the rage of his beloved, which became the reason for his restraint. A young man with a devilish smile offers to discuss some details of their further interaction. Tanhae realizes with horror that her life is now in the hands of the sword demon, to whom even Baek Seolhwa lost. The pink-haired girl realizes that the righteous hero of the Orthodox sect used her to lull the enemy's vigilance. The young man offers Tanha a deal. starting the conversation with an apology to his beloved. The Poison Phoenix is furious and declares that she will take responsibility for her actions and will not allow evil to reach the Tang clan. The hero asks with a grin if she can handle it herself, to which he receives an angry response. Don't underestimate her. The young man raises his finger, naming the price of her freedom, 100,000 nyans. A young man with a cold smile demands ransom and compensation for the destroyed house. Tanhei angrily asks when she will be able to receive the required amount. After some time, Poisonous Phoenix, acting as a waitress, greets new customers. The young man explains to the surprised girl that she simply needed help, and that is why she now works here. The guy sits with Baek Seolwa on his lap, offering Tanha another job if she doesn't like this one. The heroine gently cuddles up to her lover, not wanting to let him go for a second. The pink-haired girl is horrified to realize that bullying her won't get her home back. Baek Seolhwa promises with icy calm that next time everything will be different and her enemy will not be harmed. The heroine tenderly embraces her lover, asking if he feels any discomfort. A boy and a girl merge in a tender embrace, enjoying a moment of peace and intimacy. People on the street are whispering that the Sun Moon sword is not as good as they said. One of the women believes that Baek Seolhwa is simply wearing a mask to hide her true nature. The hero trains diligently with the sword while his beloved watches him from the side. The young man bitterly recalls how much he lost during this time, starting with his mother and ending with Solva. The young man understands that even stranger and more dangerous opponents await him in the future. The boy vows to become stronger to protect everything that is dear to him, because that is the law of the jungle. Yu Hyul asks her lover for advice, hoping to improve her skills. The hero realizes that his skills are mediocre, while Seolhwa is a true professional. The young man hesitates, wondering whether it is worth asking the opinion of someone who cannot even master the basics. Baek Seolhwa praises his well-developed outside attack, noting the signs of hard training. The girl gently touches his chest, praising him for his efforts, which greatly embarrasses the young man. The heroine admits that he is very unsure of his inner energy, and that's putting it mildly. Baek Seolhwa suggests sharing their energy through the practice of Jinggi so that they can combine their powers. The guy is delighted with this idea because finally he will have internal energy. Meanwhile, the Poisonous Phoenix Tanhei watches them with mockery, not believing their stupid plan. The pink-haired girl watches in horror as Baek Seolhwa removes the boy's clothes to absorb energy. The landlord bursts into the room, outraged by the newcomer's absence from his workplace. The owner of the house angrily scolds the young man for his idleness, reminding him of his kindness and the housing he provided. Baek Seolhwa tries to take her lover away, but the owner of the house does not calm down, disturbing their privacy. Suddenly, the guild leader appears at the door, and her appearance seemed to be just in time. Everyone's attention turns to the new guest as Poison Phoenix Tanhei begs the leader to save her. The head of the guild smiles and offers the young man help in finding new housing and money. Suddenly, bandits attack the trading caravan, demanding that they hand over everything of value. The robbers declare themselves to be a customs inspection, blocking the way for the merchants. The bandits are horrified to discover that instead of defenseless traders, they are met by a whole group of formidable warriors. The robber panics and declares that there will be no more testing, trying to save his life. The guild leader explains that the real problem is not the greedy speculators, but a bandit lair nearby. These bandits have created their own martial art, and not obeying the laws of the Murim pose a serious threat. The bandits have become especially aggressive lately, and the guild leader urgently needs to get to the city. She asked Yu Hyul and Baek Seolhwa to accompany her, promising a generous payment for their services. The Poisonous Phoenix Tanhei, forgetting about his situation, volunteers to help, unable to stand aside. Tanhei offers her help for only 100,000 nyans, which causes bewilderment in the hero. The pink-haired girl doesn't let up, ordering everyone to return to the guest house while she sorts out the problem. Suddenly, their carriage is stopped by those same robbers, and the tension reaches its peak. Tanhei resolutely steps out of the carriage, ordering the others to sit and watch while she sorts everything out. The bandits recognize her as an elite escort, and the Poison Phoenix, with a cat-like smile, praises them for their keen eye. Poison Phoenix Tanhei's confidence evaporates at the sight of a huge crowd of bandits blocking the caravan's path. Baek Seolhwa's cold calm gives the Poison Phoenix only 10 seconds to deal with her, while she furiously demands that her prey be left alone. The Poisonous Phoenix Tanhei enragedly orders the couple to continue their ritual while Yu Hyul, engulfed in flames, tries to reason with her. Not wanting to wait any longer, the pink-haired girl rushes into the attack using her explosive weapon. A powerful explosion throws back the bandits, but along with them, it also collapses the edge of the cliff on which the caravan stands. The hero screams in horror at Tanha's recklessness as the ground disappears from under their feet. Confidence reigns in the bandits' lair, since the advance party was sent only to assess the enemy's strength. The bandits' real mission will only begin with the arrival of a mysterious man, for whom reinforcements have already been called. The news of the complete destruction of the advance group comes as a complete surprise to the bandits. The surviving bandit reports with horror that not only their squad but the entire escort group was destroyed. The bandit captain studies the leaflet with interest, depicting the sword demon, preparing for his meeting with him. The guild leader looks at the leaflet with doubt, wondering whether a man with such a dubious reputation can be trusted. Heavy memories of betrayal make the guild leader doubt people in general. The young man pulls the guild leader out of the water, interrupting her dark thoughts. Having reached the shore, the hero shouts Tanha's name in rage, promising to take revenge for what happened. On the cold shore, the young man tries to find at least something good in their deplorable situation. Thoughts of Baek-seol-hwa bring the guy peace because her strength is on a completely different level. The memories of the promise given not to part anymore cause the young man pain and bewilderment. The sudden appearance of robbers from the forest interrupts his painful thoughts. The hero jumps to his feet, drawing his sword and preparing to single-handedly defend the guild leader from the bandits' lawlessness. The bandits recognize the unpredictable sword demon by his terrifying face and clothing. To the young man's surprise, the bandits turn out to be his ardent fans and enthusiastically greet their idol. The bandits proudly proclaim the greatness of the unpredictable sword demon, oblivious to his confusion. The hero picks up the guild leader, deciding to personally take care of his prey. The bandits admire their master, who secretly called for reinforcements without letting them in on his plans. The robbers enthusiastically discuss the imaginary exploits of their master, attributing incredible blows to him. The young man tries to find out if the bandits saw people in white clothes, but they don't know anything. The hero asks the robbers to immediately inform him if they see anyone suspicious. One of the bandits notices the close relationship between the young man and the head of the guild, which causes the hero embarrassment. The guy explains that he's tired of pretending to be friendly for money, so he came up with a plan to disguise himself as an escort. The guild leader comes to her senses and realizes with horror that she is in the arms of her companion. The bandits watch the leader's frightened face with laughter as she tries to escape. The bandits point to the government fortress they manage to reach. At the fortress, they are met and invited to enter, but the hero feels that something is wrong. The young man screams that he urgently needs energy, while the guild leader hangs limply in his arms. The hero refuses to entrust the leader to the bandits and decides to find a quiet place for her himself. The bandits try to stop him, reminding him of the danger, but he calls them idiots and leaves. The young man, with a devilish smile, declares that as a hunter he must taste his prey. He throws the head to the ground with contempt, calling it trash, which causes a storm of indignation in her. The guy says with a cold grin that she is worthless and that he didn't like her from the very beginning. The performance ends, and the hero admiringly praises the acting of the guild leader. The guild leader proudly admits to his talent for pretense, smiling coquettishly. The chief is perplexed as to why the young man continued to play the role when they had already lost their pursuers. The guy explains with a smile that he just wanted to be on the safe side and is now ready to protect her. The hero suggests that they first descend from the mountains to continue their journey. The young man says that he has some business to attend to, so he only takes her halfway there. The guild leader furiously accuses the young man of betrayal, reminding him of the contract and the dangerous bandits. The conversation is interrupted by noise in the bushes where the robbers are hiding, having already caught everyone they could. The bandits are discussing the capture of a pretty girl from the escort, who was personally captured by a man with backup. The robbers anticipate a large ransom and decide to leave before they get into more trouble. The guild leader guesses that the reason for the hero's reluctance to go further lies in the sword of the sun and moon. Baek-seol-hwa stands before a mysterious dark figure, and it becomes clear that the bandits' reinforcements are not ordinary people. The young man firmly declares that he does not care about numbers and skills, because he will never lose his man again. The guild leader is surprised to learn that the boy had made a promise with Baek-seol-hwa even before their contract. The hero, in a panic, tries to explain that her and the chief's clothes could get dirty, and this is not at all what she thought. The guild leader looks at the guy in bewilderment as he quickly takes off his clothes. The girl explains that she is the best at transformations, and it is not difficult for her to disguise them in place. Suddenly, a muscular man appears in front of them, who turns out to be a young man in disguise. The guy covers himself sheepishly, citing a lack of things for a complete disguise. The disguised hero joyfully greets his new companion, hoping that he remembers him. The robber shouts in rage that their disguise failed and they were caught on the spot. The guild leader deals a crushing blow, plunging the bandits into panic and terror. The robber, with tears in his eyes, tries to justify himself, reminding them of the requested reinforcements. The guild leader furiously scolds his subordinates, who couldn't even defend themselves. The frightened robbers fall to their knees, begging for forgiveness for their unforgivable mistake. The guild leader, putting his foot on one of the bandits, orders them to simply escort her. The bandits' camp is in disarray, the building is destroyed, and everyone is discussing the traces of the lightning strike. One of the bandits warns of danger because a mysterious blue sword may appear at night. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears behind one of the bandits, and it becomes clear that their fears were not in vain. The guild leader notices his companion's poor health, and he tries to collect his thoughts. The disguised hero assures that he suddenly realized his responsibility and will now be able to protect her. The guild leader's gaze warms, and then she points to the burning building, which turns out to be their warehouse and prison. Inside the prison, they are met with a horrific scene, pools of blood and dead bodies. Realizing they need to hurry, the pair runs through the dark corridors in search of survivors. Finally, they find a prison cell from which familiar voices can be heard. Baek Seolhwa and the poison phoenix Tanhae find themselves behind bars, and she joyfully welcomes her rescuers. The pink-haired girl looks at the sword demon with admiration, amazed by his devotion. Tanhae mentions with disdain several porters who were immediately released. The guild master can barely contain his irritation as Poison Phoenix tries to explain the situation. Tanhae says with a satisfied look that everything is going as well as possible, and now it's time to get going quickly. The disguised hero shouts indignantly at the robbers, reproaching them for not recognizing their own. The guild leader stabs one of the bandits while they try to understand in horror what is happening. The robber, with tears in his eyes, justifies himself, reminding them that this is the first time they have seen reinforcements. The guild leader furiously reprimands his subordinates for failing to protect the building entrusted to them. The frightened robbers fall on their faces, begging for forgiveness for their unforgivable mistake. The head of the guild, putting his foot on one of the bandits, orders them to simply escort her and the young man. The bandits' camp is in disarray, the building is destroyed, and everyone is discussing the traces of the lightning strike. One of the bandits warns of danger because a mysterious blue sword may appear at night. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears behind one of the bandits, and it becomes clear that their fears were not in vain. The guild leader notices his companion's poor health, and he tries to collect his thoughts. The disguised hero assures that he suddenly realized his responsibility and will now be able to protect her. The guild leader's gaze warms, and then she points to the burning building, which turns out to be their warehouse and prison. Inside the prison, they are met with a horrific scene, pools of blood and dead bodies. Realizing they need to hurry, the pair runs through the dark corridors in search of survivors. Finally, they find a prison cell from which familiar voices can be heard. Baek Seolhwa and the poison phoenix Tanhae find themselves behind bars, and she joyfully welcomes her rescuers. The pink-haired girl looks at the sword demon with admiration, amazed by his devotion. Tanhae mentions with disdain several porters who were immediately released. The guildmaster can barely contain his irritation as Poison Phoenix tries to explain the situation. Tanhae says with a satisfied look that everything is going as well as possible, and now it's time to get going quickly. The guild leader states with cold calm that in this world, the only thing you can trust is money. The disguised hero struggles to hold off the great tiger's onslaught as it mocks his weakness. The guy cries out in despair that you can't deprive others of a chance just because you are stronger. Suddenly, the hero gains incredible strength and furiously declares that no one will take his man away from him again. Baek Seolhwa appears from behind the young man, asking with icy calm what is going on here. In the early evening, when the moonlight envelops the earth, all people's attention is focused on two things. The first is the incredible beauty of the girl, which can make you forget about everything in the world. The second was the only person who stood out from the crowd, hugging this beauty. The young man asks his beloved with concern if she's okay. The girl happily hugs him, saying that she is glad that she was late, and asks where he was. Baek Seolhwa explains that she was in a nearby tower dealing with some annoying matters. The poisonous phoenix Tanhae watches the tender scene with jealousy, not understanding what has come over Baek Seolhwa. Tanhee is furious when the guild leader forgets about her, only happy that everyone is alive. Baek Seolhwa, shrouded in a blue aura, reminds them of their oath to destroy everyone except Hyul. The hero tries to calm his beloved, saying that the others are not to blame, and he needs to accompany the leader. Baek Seolhwa can hardly contain her anger, realizing that the young man is again trying to do everything himself. The great tiger looks at the girl with interest, asking if she is the one called the Sword of the Sun and Moon. The bald bandit with a lustful smile confirms that the rumors about her beauty were not a lie. Baek Seolhwa notes that the enemy has spent the entire day in the mountains and must be running out of strength. The great tiger rushes to attack, confident that they will be well paid for her capture. The captain of the bandits mockingly calls the heroes children, confident in his superiority. The great tiger rushes into the attack, confident of his victory over the inexperienced youth. The young man looks at his beloved with concern, unable to stay away. The hero doubts whether he should intervene in this dangerous duel. The bald bandit is furious that some girl is causing him so much trouble. Surrounded by a glow, Baek Seolhwa admits she needs extra energy. The great tiger is furious that he can't even lift his sword after her attack. The heroine, with cold calm, declares that she needs additional energy and approaches the enemy. The enraged bandit screams in rage that he will kill them all for such humiliation. King Nokrim once gave his students wise advice. Don't try to take in everything at once, but concentrate on one thing at a time. Usopp chose the path of strength, and now no one can withstand his simple yet incredibly powerful blow. The guy screams in horror, warning his lover of danger while she asks him for energy. The young man, in desperation, promises to give her everything she wants if only she could deal with this monster. Baek Seolhwa prepares to deflect a blow that could split an entire rock. The girl confidently declares that he will not be able to kill her, because joking with her is inappropriate. The heroine's blow turns out to be so powerful that it is capable of tearing the world apart. The hero looks at his beloved in horror, realizing that they have witnessed the dawn. The boy screams, trying to stop Baek Seolhwa, but she coldly orders him to let go. The entire cave begins to collapse, and the heroes and their captives fall into the abyss. The guild leader is surprised to discover a mysterious red chest, which turns out to have been kept by Baek Seolhwa. Baek Seolhwa reports that Tanhae is helping other wounded while one of the captives begs for death. The young man laughingly assures the chief that she will not be held responsible, since the item remains in his possession. The guild leader looks at the guy doubtfully, asking if this item is really the only thing that matters to him. The girl assumes that since he is at the level of the Sun and Moon Sword, he can easily deal with Wusok. The hero panics and denies his power, citing differences in the compatibility of their techniques. The guild leader doesn't understand why the young man didn't hand it over to a stronger opponent, since it would have been profitable. The guy asks again with bewilderment, reminding her of the promise he made to protect her. The guild leader laughs as she realizes that she could have completely trusted this strange young man. The girl admits with a gentle smile that Yu Hyul is indeed trustworthy. In the dungeon, a young man in chains reflects on the fact that the merchant cannot afford to waste time. The unfortunate guy faces the death penalty under the country's strict laws, and he awaits his fate in horror. Meanwhile, the official praises the guild leader for his good work and for confirming the identities of the criminals. A young man suggests that his beloved wait outside because the government building makes him nervous. Prince Jaijin orders his men to capture and imprison the important guests who were caught in the forest. The guild master intervenes, reminding them that an unpredictable sword demon is involved in this matter. The young man has a bad feeling and understands that leaving quietly would be a blow to the government's pride. These are chaotic times when two nations coexist under the rule of an empire, and military power operates separately from each other. Enemies of the Murim and state criminals are prosecuted separately, and the government cannot intervene directly. The guild leader warns that once she hands over the mysterious item, they'd better get out of here for a while. The mysterious dragon is supposed to get this thing, and the tension is at its peak. There is a state of zenith, when the inner power goes beyond the physical body. In the past, this state was considered the pinnacle of the Marima world, and is still the highest standard for a master. Those who have reached this level are called dragons and phoenixes, and there are currently only 5 dragons and 4 phoenixes. The young man is impressed by their coolness, and the pink-haired girl enthusiastically agrees with him. Poison Phoenix Tanhee proudly declares that she is the youngest phoenix. The others are unimpressed, and Tanhee gets angry when it is pointed out to her that 2 of them are just ordinary people. The person they are about to meet is the Simple Dragon, also known as the future of Manhwa. The guild leader asks Tanha if she knows anything about the Furious Dragon, calling her inadequate. The pink-haired girl realizes with annoyance that this dragon is also completely abnormal. It seems like being abnormal has become the new norm, but this only makes Tanha angrier. The guild leader decides to change the subject and asks the tavern owner for 4 private rooms. She clarifies that they need 2 rooms for 2, and at that moment the appearance of Baek Seol-hwa scares the owner to death. The pink-haired girl gets out of the bath, happy about the cleanliness, but her good mood quickly evaporates. The guild leader accuses Tanhi of eavesdropping, but she panics and denies everything. The poisonous phoenix declares that it is going to bed and asks to stop messing around. The young man also washed himself and thought with delight about what an excellent bathroom this tavern had. Baek Seol-hwa appears at the door, reminding him of his promise to help her recharge. The young man asks sheepishly about her clothes, and she explains that her things are in the wash, so she had to borrow his. They embrace tenderly, and an atmosphere of romance and warmth fills the room. She falls asleep peacefully on his shoulder, and he asks sheepishly if she doesn't like it. Baek Seol-hwa, with a flirtatious smile, suggests that the young man think about her words, because she is his. The embarrassed hero hugs his beloved tightly, admitting that he really likes it. They look at each other tenderly, and there's an atmosphere of love and happiness in the air. In the next room, the guild leader tries to calm down the enraged Tanhei, while the mysterious chest falls to the floor. The guild leader runs to the window in panic, seeing that something strange is happening outside. The whole problem lies in the greatest threat. Baek Seol-hwa, who is shrouded in a powerful aura. The hero manages to catch the falling chest at the last moment, saving it from destruction. The young man comes to in a cloud of smoke, completely unaware of what happened. Suddenly, he is surrounded by guards, and he recognizes one of them as the same guy. The enraged guard accuses the young man of attacking Mr. Jae-hyun. All evidence points to the unpredictable sword demon, who is now the prime suspect. The guy is shocked that he, a scoundrel, is accused of assaulting an official. He tries to justify himself by saying that it was all an accident, but he is put in stocks. The guard shouts at him in a rage, saying that the master's wife is still unconscious because of his antics. He is ordered to sit silently, threatening with consequences if he fights. A mysterious stranger sits down next to him in the cell and asks if everything is okay. The young man notices that his cellmate seems to be glowing and cannot understand what is wrong with him. The bald guy introduces himself as Yeondu, a follower from Mount Hwa, and his radiance becomes even brighter. The hero is shocked that his cellmate is from Mount Hwa and not from Shaolin, as he assumed. Evandu looks at him with interest and suddenly recognizes him as the unpredictable sword demon. Baek Seol-hwa, enveloped in a powerful aura, promises to save her lover no matter the cost. The guild leader, in a panic, tries to calm the enraged girl, begging her not to break into the government building. The enraged heroine declares that she will kill them all, not wanting to make an entire state her enemy. The guild leader realizes with horror that Baek Seol-hwa is ready to make her lover a refugee just to save him. The girl is relieved to see that the young man is alive and promises to try to correct this misunderstanding. Baek Seol-hwa, with icy calm, threatens to kill everyone if even a hair falls from her beloved's head. The guild leader tries to defuse the situation by offering to rely on her during negotiations. Meanwhile, the poisonous phoenix Tanhei, observing the night sky, decides to kidnap the young man so as not to complicate his life. The pink-haired girl with a devilish smile declares that this victory will definitely be hers. In the cell, Evandu listens with sympathy to the young man's story of his misadventures. The guy can't believe that his new acquaintance takes his word for it. Evandu explains that people rarely believe his words, and those who put religion first treat him as an enemy. The radiant monk is outraged by how people can be judged only by rumors, and his words move the young man to tears. The guy finally realizes that his cellmate is shining for a reason, and this confuses him a little. Evandu asks with interest how the young man ended up in such a situation. The bald monk says that when he arrived in this country, a horse was running amok in the market and no one could control it. It turns out that the horse was frightened by the glow of his bald head and ran away, which seems completely absurd to the young man. Evandu indignantly argues that this makes sense because he could not remain on the sidelines. In the end, the monk hit the judge in the face and now he is here, which seems even more unfair to the young man. Evandu's sentence ends, and before leaving, he promises to help his new friend escape. Evandu says that he was told to pick up something from the hotel, and the young man guesses that it was him. Suddenly, the poisonous phoenix Tanhi bursts into the cell, declaring that she has come to save him in secret from everyone. The pink-haired girl demands 100,000 nians in gratitude while the young man tries to calm her down. Tanhei proudly declares that she knocked out everyone in her path, but the sight of the unconscious guards only frightens the hero even more. Iwandu asks with interest if this is Tan, his sister, to which the girl angrily calls him bald. The shining monk mockingly asks if she has been locked up here too and calls her abnormal. Tanhei coquettishly explains that she is saving the young man for a couple of reasons, but cannot tell him about the debt. The hero, freed from the stocks, asks with concern if everything is really all right. Iwandu warns that Jizhen won't get away that easily and that they need to escape at the first opportunity. The monk says goodbye to the young man, advising him to hurry before the sword of the moon and the sun destroys everything here. Suddenly, Iwandu feels the presence of the sword of the moon and the sun and realizes that she is already here. Tanhei asks in surprise if he knew that Baek Seolhwa is his fiancée. The shining monk looks at them with irritation, tired of their constant squabbles. Suddenly, Iwandu deals a crushing blow, throwing the young man against the wall. The pink-haired girl is shocked and cannot understand why her ally attacked the sword demon. The monk apologizes, explaining that his emotions were out of control and he has no feelings for Yu Haeul. However, if he marries the moon and sun sword, it will be a completely different story. Iwandu falls to his knees, admitting that he cannot say anything against her unreal strength. He admits that she is incredibly strong, and the majestic image of Baek Seolhwa appears before him. The shining monk lies on the ground, regretting that he couldn't protect these guys, but he tried his best. Baek Seolhwa looks at the defeated judge with a victorious expression, asking if he admits his defeat. The frightened judge begs for mercy, unable to utter a word from fear. The girl contemptuously plucks the only hair from his head, leaving him in complete despair. Tears stream down the judge's face as he realizes the depth of his humiliation. Along with the brightest sun comes a silent, desperate cry that everyone around can hear. The judge screams in horror at the name of the sun and moon sword, realizing who he is facing. The guild leader tries to calm the enraged heroine, while she, full of determination, goes towards her goal. Iwandu, shrouded in a pink aura, furiously declares that he will not forgive Baek Seolhwa. The pain of parting with the precious hair makes him feel the same as she does. The young man doesn't understand what's happening to his cellmate until Tanhei tries to reason with him. The hero, perplexed, asks how they can deal with this couple in love. The pink-haired girl looks at him with understanding, realizing how difficult it will be for him. The young man sheepishly tries to explain that she has again misunderstood everything. The poisonous phoenix Tanhei volunteers to deal with Iwandu, sending the hero forward. The girl shows the monk where to go, saying that what was taken from him awaits him there. The hero thanks Tanha, not fully understanding her motives, and sets off to search. Iwandu, shrouded in a pink aura, furiously orders the girl to get out of the way. Tanhei, with a malicious smile, suggests a real duel, since the dragon and the phoenix haven't met in battle for a long time. The young man searches for his clothes in panic, muttering that his beloved might stay here. Finally, he finds his clothes and hugs her with relief, glad that she is okay. The innkeeper, perplexed, asks where the guild leader's things are. He recognizes the young man as Judge Haeun and, in a panic, babbles the name of the unpredictable sword demon. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light bursts into the room, throwing the hero aside. Iwandu, shrouded in a pink aura, calls Tanhei a fence rat, while she calls him bald in response. The pink-haired girl refuses to give in and prepares to use her poison technique. She uses the Tang clan's poison technique, but the monk easily deflects it. Iwandu uses the 24th technique of the plum blossom style, ordering Tanha to get out of the way. The poisonous phoenix is furious that her opponent has no interest in people like her. The enraged monk shouts that he needs the groom of the sword of the moon and the sun, and challenges the young man to a fight. The hero is completely perplexed and does not understand why his cellmate is so angry with him. Iwandu angrily explains that the whole thing is that he is the groom of the sword of the moon and the sun. Tanhei tries to explain to the monk that Yu Hyul is a reckless and stubborn guy, but that's just her opinion. The pink-haired girl stands up for the boy, saying that at least he has a sense of loyalty. She explains to Ivan that the guy called him his friend in prison and therefore does not want to fight with him. The radiant monk is embarrassed to realize that he represents the world of religious martial arts and should be ashamed. The hero sheepishly tries to explain how one can call someone a friend after a half-hour conversation. Yuandu regretfully admits that one cannot take out one's anger on another, and he has dishonored the holy name of Manhwa. Suddenly, Baek Seolhwa bursts into the room and throws herself into the arms of her lover with a joyful cry. The monk looks at this scene in surprise, not understanding what kind of bald man has appeared next to the sword of the moon and the sun. Ivandu, shrouded in a red aura, introduces himself as her older martial arts brother. There is a commotion in the streets in the middle of the night, and people are puzzled about what is happening in the government building. The mysterious purple-haired girl watches the scene with irritation, not understanding why they cannot fulfill a simple request. The guild leader panics and begs Baek Seolhwa not to destroy the government building. The witnesses are horrified and unable to understand what is happening, while one of them begs for mercy. An enraged Yuandu accuses Baek Seolhwa of taking everything from him and calls it a misunderstanding. The young man is perplexed as he tries to understand what his former cellmate is talking about while he continues to talk nonsense. The guy tries to reason with the monk, saying that even if Seolhwa crossed his path, that is no reason for such anger. The hero resolutely declares that he will take full responsibility for the actions of his beloved. Baek Seolhwa looks at her protector in surprise as he is about to apologize to Mr. Jiren. The young man explains that he is tired of a life in which everything he has is taken away from him, and he can no longer tolerate this vicious circle. He is sure that all this is just a misunderstanding, but sometimes one has to bear responsibility even for unintentional harm. Ivandu looks at him with cold calm, not believing in the seriousness of his intentions. The monk shouts in rage that they are followers of the leader of the Mount Hua sect, and that it doesn't matter now. According to the sacred commandments of the Murim, Yuandu puts his sword to the throat of the unpredictable sword demon. He declares that he will take responsibility for the deeds of the sword of the moon and the sun, and will have his head shaved. It turns out that all this time the monk held a grudge for the single hair that was pulled out from him. The purple-haired girl furiously rips that very hair out of Ivanda's hand, calling him an idiot. She explains that she rushed here as soon as she heard rumors of his imprisonment. The woman introduces herself as Cheon-young, the teacher of Mount Hua, and her appearance changes the balance of power. The teacher apologizes for the behavior of her disobedient disciple. The teacher of Mount Hua greets Tanhei with a mocking smile, congratulating her on her supreme achievement. The young man realizes with surprise that in front of him is the very same sword of the moon and the sun. The guild leader firmly declares that the unpredictable sword demon is under her protection. Cheonyan promises with cold calm that he won't lay a finger on this guy. The hero is perplexed and does not understand why everyone believes the rumors about his love affairs. As an apology for the trouble caused, the mentor offers herself to the young man. Cheonyan says with a flirtatious smile that he is not even the youngest of those she has caught her eye. The poisonous phoenix Tanhei furiously accuses her mentor of making advances towards her brother as well. Cheonyan bitterly recalls how the cult leader deceived her by promising not to interfere in her personal life. The mentor is furious that she was forced into this position because of a stupid merit-based distribution. It turns out that Cheonyan is already 25 years old, multiplied by 2, and she demands that this conversation be stopped. The woman smiles and offers the young man to take her, since he already has 3 and nothing will change. For Baek Seolhwa, nothing matters except Yu Hyul, who is more important to her than anything else in the world. The time she promised to spend with him was gone, and not only that, she also put him in danger. Now they openly want to take away what is most precious to her, and her patience is running out. Baek Seolhwa's patience has finally run out, and she furiously orders everyone to just die. The rumors weren't lying, and maybe it was even worse because she turned out to be a real monster. Despite her terrifying power, in the eyes of the young man, she is still the same vulnerable girl he loves. The frightened official begs for mercy, not understanding who this guy is who is being protected so much. He is ready to give everything, just so that they don't kill him, and hands them a mysterious red chest. The frightened official, in tears, admits that Mr. Jiren forced him to do all this. Jiren calls on the villains who have occupied the government building to surrender. He mockingly announces that they are surrounded and expects their unquestioning obedience to the laws of the state. The guards report that they have cleared the perimeter, but it appears that everyone is still inside the building. There is complete chaos inside, and Hyun-sung still hasn't returned, which Jiren finds very strange. His subordinate doubts their strength, as there is no certainty that they will be able to defeat this demon swordsman. The intervention of the Mount Hua sect's master gives them an advantage, as they can now use it to put pressure on the sect. Jiren is eagerly awaiting the moment when his hands reach the mysterious red chest. One of the guards mentions with apprehension the rumors that the demon swordsman uses spells to seduce girls. Even though his rival is a mentor from Manhwa, Jiren doesn't believe that this little idiot can do anything against her. Suddenly, Yu Hyul, Baekseol Hwa, and the guild leader appear on the roof, and their appearance changes the balance of power. Jiren screams the name of the unpredictable sword demon in horror, not believing his eyes. The hero thanks his beloved with relief for her protection, rejoicing that they are together again. The guild leader furiously scolds Baekseol Hwa and the mentor for waving blades in a building that is already on its last legs. Cheonyeon complains that she is covered in dust because she covered that boy and doesn't understand why she wasn't punished. Baekseol Hwa proudly declares that this guy will soon become her fiancé, which shocks her mentor. Jiren looks at this scene with disgust, sure that this is the very spell that seduces women. Tanhei grabs the official by the hair, confirming that the guy deliberately provoked the fox in order to end up in prison. It turns out that this lizard-like man was stunned and captured, and they wanted to give the thing away for ransom so that they could steal it later. Jiren is furious that this carrion dares to advise him, and prepares for the decisive blow. Jiren, in a rage, accuses them of destroying a government building and blaming the man who is backed by the state. He sentences the unpredictable sword demon to death, but the young man cries out in despair, "Why is it always him?" The official offers to hand over the sword demon since he is the only one who is not a member of the sect. Baekseol Hwa, shrouded in a blue aura, orders the old man to shut up if he doesn't want to die. The Hwa mountain teacher tries to calm everyone down with a smile, which surprises Jiren. He shouts in rage that she can't handle such an idiot, and that because of her, the government building collapsed. Cheonyeon easily blocks his blow, challenging him to try again if he dares. She accuses him of falsely accusing their novice and shamelessly declaring that the thief's hall belongs to him. With his actions, he declared war on the Muramu, and her eyes glow with purple flames. She asks if he is ready to face the consequences, and his face contorts with fear. The red chest contains a mysterious piece of metal, which may have been the reason for all this fuss. It had been 30 years since she had last seen this relic. The mentor thanks the guild leader for saving the relic and for his good work. The young man says goodbye to Cheonyeon, not believing that their paths will diverge so easily. A pink-haired girl scolds a tied-up monk, telling him that he should be ashamed. Revenge requires the right time and place, and soon a deadly duel between the dragon and the phoenix will take place. Evandu, now dressed in luxurious clothes, invites them to meet here again. The teacher drags the reluctant monk along with her with disdain, saying goodbye to everyone. Finally, this part of the adventure was over, but half of the problems were caused by one person. The hero, tired of all these events, suggests that everyone sort out their things and rest. The young man asks his beloved with concern if she is tired. The innkeeper joyfully greets the guild leader, admiring her beauty. The sudden appearance of Yu Hyul plunges the owner into complete horror. Baekseol Hwa asks for two-seater carriages with cold calm. The hero sheepishly offers to organize carriages if there are none, and his beloved looks at him tenderly. Tanhei and the guild leader can't help but laugh as they watch this romantic scene. In the cart, the elders tell each other exaggerated stories about the recent battle. Tanhei interrupts them indignantly, declaring that a great battle, full of blood and sweat, had then begun. The fierce battle, she says, lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and she doesn't know if they slept at all. The sky and earth shook from their collision, and the driver was so frightened that he could not move. The elder recalls with horror how the unpredictable demon swordsman used the power of his sword. A true swordsman never waves his weapon in vain, and all the energy of his sword was directed to the 3 dantians of the moon and sun sword. The guild leader is confused and trying to digest what he heard, not knowing how to react. The young man explains how they chanted her name so loudly that the mountains and rivers shook more and more each time. In response, the sword of the moon and the sun strikes, and the hero suggests continuing the discussion. The guild leader sheepishly suggests clarifying the calculations, and the guy names the sum of 6,000 nians. They lost 3 carts in the collapse, and that's not counting the enormous additional costs and fines. The guild leader wants to be honest and says that it is definitely not his fault, because he did his duty and protected her. Plus, with bonuses and money from Jiren, they have a little extra income left over. The young man thanks the head, and she, smiling shyly, asks him to do without it. The young man enthusiastically promises to do everything to repay his savior. With the new money, they will finally have the means to find a new place to live. The innkeeper, in tears, begs them to just leave, while the young man promises revenge. Their route leads to Yucatan, a strategically important place for traders and travelers. In this settlement with a changing population and vacant housing, they hope to find a new home. The owner of the house is horrified when he recognizes the girl as the same one who is looking for a place to rent a room. Seeing the sword demon, the owner falls down, begging for mercy. It turns out that since that hotel was burned down, no one wants to rent them housing. The hero sadly apologizes to his beloved for all the difficulties she has to endure. He gently takes her hand, remembering how they once walked through the village in exactly the same way. Baekseolhwa looks at him tenderly, saying that this is enough for her. Tanhei comments on their relationship with mockery, calling it not at all adult. The pink-haired girl is forced to work again, and she cries out in despair that she only had time to rest. The guy asks his beloved if she has any wishes for the new house. She sheepishly admits that she would like a big house with lots of rooms. The young man happily agrees, realizing that she is accustomed to luxury because she comes from a wealthy family. Baekseolhwa explains with a flirtatious smile that one day their family will become big. The realtor shouts in anger that finding a house is not a piece of cake. He is outraged that they only have 10,000 nyans as a deposit, and they want to buy a castle with this money. Suddenly, the realtor gets an idea and realizes that this could work. The realtor enthusiastically declares that this is the best house he has ever seen. The deposit turns out to be surprisingly low, and the monthly fee is not that high. The realtor reluctantly admits that, to be completely honest, this house is cursed. It turns out that all 4 families who lived here before suffered from fraud. The young man laughs it off as a simple coincidence and notices the owner of the house approaching. The red-haired girl greets them happily, asking if they have come to see the house. The guy is horrified to recognize her as the same swindler who deceived him earlier. After confirming the amount of 50,000 nanny, they shake hands and sign the contract. The hero is delighted that he was able to rent such a luxurious house for such a price. The red-haired girl is glad that he is satisfied and offers to call her any time. The young man waves after her with gratitude, not believing his luck. He can't believe that this beautiful house is now his, and it brings him closer to fulfilling his promise. As he passes by, he notices a notice on the gate and realizes that everything is ready. It turns out that the house is being sold at auction, and the guy is shocked that he was deceived again. Some swindler fleeced him and ran away, and it's not just this house. The young man grabs the girl in a rage, calling her a damn fraud. He screams in despair that this bastard has run away with all his money. The angry hero cannot believe that he has been so brazenly deceived again. He demands his money back, not wanting to listen to any excuses. The girl, in horror, begs for mercy, asking him not to beat her while he holds her by the collar. The enraged hero demands his money back, while the swindler begs for mercy. The red-haired girl justifies that she wanted to surrender to the authorities and start a new life. She reproaches him for using his strength, because her back is still covered in bruises from that fight. The young man cries out in despair that he needs his money, but the swindler declares that she has already paid for her misdeeds. Suddenly, Baekseolhwa appears, and her icy gaze silences the scammer. The red-haired girl begs for mercy in horror. Realizing that she is in deep trouble, the hero decides to simply go inside, tired of this senseless squabble. They sit down at the table and an awkward silence falls over the room. A young man asks a realtor if he is sure that the house is registered to a girl. He offers the swindler to give him the house since she can't return the money. The red-haired girl laughs and waves his hand, saying he's scared her. She explains that the money she was unable to return is not worth even 1/10 of this luxury home. The hero is furious that she wants to sell the house and leave him with nothing. The fraudster claims that she has decided to start her life with a clean slate and will no longer run from debt. She offers him to exchange his money for this luxurious castle. The girl with red hair tries to persuade him, but he doubts whether he should believe her. She assures him that he has no choice anyway and he cannot trust her again. He understands that she is right, and if he refuses, his shame will spread throughout the world. Suddenly, Baekseolhwa coldly calmly declares that she refuses. The scammer is shocked by her words, and Baekseolhwa tells her to shut up. Baekseolhwa, with icy calm, orders the swindler to return the stolen money and disappear. She gently takes the young man's hand, saying that it is enough for her to know that he is near. The red-haired girl yells furiously at them to do whatever they want. The swindler contemptuously calls them idiots who will still cry because they didn't agree to her offer. She considers the young man a loser who can't argue with women, and Baek Seolhwa a stupid fool. Baek Seolhwa coldly notes that at least one of them doesn't have to worry about money. Suddenly, a girl with red hair falls to her knees, begging to service a couple of men for a good fee. She pushes the young man away with force, and he flies into the wall, not understanding what is happening. The enraged swindler accuses him of allowing himself to do such things just because he is a swordsman. The young man screams in rage at how she dared to insult his woman. The red-haired girl calls all Murim bastards the same, who are only looking for a reason to fight. The hero asks with icy calm if she has finished speaking, but she still has something to say. She looks at him defiantly, not believing that he knows how to deal with people like her. The swindler threatens that her brothers are ready to come at any moment and tear him to pieces. Baek Seolhwa volunteers to deal with her, but the young man stops her. He tenderly asks to be allowed to avenge her, and his cheeks turn red with embarrassment. Suddenly, the swindler's brothers appear, asking who dared to offend their little sister. The girl happily greets her brothers, urging them to get ready to rake in the trash. It turns out that her brothers are true masters and heroes of the Green Forest. One of the brothers angrily asks what fool would dare to lay a finger on her. The swindler's brothers fall to their knees in horror, begging for mercy. They justify themselves by saying that they left the Green Forest as soon as they saw the power of the great warrior. The red-haired girl is perplexed as to what is happening to her so-called brothers. It turns out that they are not brothers at all, and each of them claims to be the youngest in the family. The young man, with a devilish smile, reminds the swindler that they still have to pay off their debts. The red-haired girl panics and tries to stop him, suggesting that he solve everything logically. She asks what they want anyway and offers them the house as compensation. The swindler hopefully asks if her sincere repentance will be enough. She remembers a fake document that looks like the original, which she created with the help of her brothers. It turns out she hunts for empty houses and then pretends to be their owner in order to run away with other people's money. A red-haired girl with a sweet smile asks for forgiveness for her misdeeds. As punishment, she is forced to clean the hotel, starting from the second floor. She thought that they would take cruel revenge on her, but they simply forced her to work to pay off the debt. The sudden appearance of the poisonous phoenix Tan-hye makes the swindler realize that she is finished. Meanwhile, the young man and his beloved were unable to find a place to live. The innkeeper offers them to stay for a couple of days, but only for double the price. Suddenly, a stranger approaches them and recognizes the young man as the unpredictable sword demon. He introduces himself as Yoo Hyun from the village to the south, and his name seems familiar to the hero. It turns out that this is the son of the same old woman who was kidnapped when the house burned down. The memory of this incident causes painful feelings in the young man. In desperation, Yoo Hyun vows to destroy the kidnapper if he ever sets eyes on him. The hero, with an awkward smile, thinks that the kidnapper is right here, in the kitchen. Yoo Hyun thanks them for saving his mother, saying that he heard about the unpleasant situation they got into. He understands that he is indebted to them again. But the young man is perplexed and does not understand what debt they are talking about. It turns out the scammer they caught had her sights set on their home too. It was the house that was stolen from his family when he was very young. After this incident, his mother temporarily moved in with him and another scammer targeted him. The young man listens to him with understanding, thinking that the same swindler is also now in the kitchen. Yoo Hyun admits that he is in their debt again and has nothing to pay them back with. He invites them to stay in his house for as long as they want, which leaves the couple in shock. He explains that his mother will be living with him, so the house remains empty. The young man was delighted with this offer, because they had saved both his mother and his home. The hero joyfully informs his beloved that now they will have to fill this house. She reminds him that he was the one who suggested it first, and the owner of the house, embarrassed, throws them out to do it in his house. The elder regretfully reports that they were unable to obtain what was right here. He remembers what his stupid daughter did all this time after she ran away from home. Meanwhile, Tan-hye is enjoying her bath, happy that her henchman will soon join her. She sings relaxedly, thinking how good life is, but her idol does not last long. Suddenly she jumps up with a scream, not understanding what she's doing here at all. The hero has finally achieved what he wanted and found a place to live. But now he faces a new question about skill. The young man desperately tries to master his inner powers, but feels neither the flow of energy nor the slightest progress. He thinks with envy about his beloved, not understanding how she managed to become so strong. Suddenly, Tan-hye appears, asking irritably how she should know. The hero is shocked by her appearance, and she dismissively declares that great people don't bother with such trifles as work. The pink-haired girl wonders what weaknesses the moon sword has. The guy panics and tries to justify himself, saying that it's not what she thought. Tanhei looks at him suspiciously, guessing that he is up to something. She claims that he is not having any affairs, and because of this misunderstanding, she remains indebted to him. Her main goal is to defeat that damn moon sword and get revenge for what she did. She explains that in order to defeat an enemy, one must first reveal all of his weaknesses and secrets. Tanhei says this to him specifically because she knows that they are close. Meanwhile, at the market, Baek Seol-hwa meets a vendor who greets her with fresh chicken. The young man and Tanhei, hiding in the bushes, are watching her, and he does not understand what she is doing here. He has never seen Seol-hwa train, and he is very curious about her secret. Perhaps she trains in secret, and that is the key to becoming a master. However, from the outside, it looks like she just bought some groceries and is returning home. Tanhei proudly states that she knew this would happen, so she hired someone. She admits that it was nothing serious. She just hired a killer to test her. The guy is horrified by her recklessness, but she is confident that Seol-hwa will still win. Suddenly, the same old man from the cliff appears, who, according to rumors, could cut lightning in half with his sword. The young man, hiding in the bushes, anxiously watches the meeting between his beloved and the mysterious old man. It turns out that Tanhei and the old man are simply discussing why Baek Seol-hwa isn't training. The heroine explains that apart from training with him, she does nothing else, because she doesn't want to waste time being separated. She readily admits that her skills may have worsened slightly, much to the shock of those watching. Tanhei and the old man shout in rage that no martial artist would say such a thing, and it is a disgrace. The old man invites the young man to try a complex Jindo-in technique that is beneficial for both partners. Everyone looks at each other in embarrassment, and Tanhei calls them perverts with disgust. A boy and a girl go into seclusion in the forest to practice energy transfer. The familiar warm energy of Seol-hwa flows through his body, and he remembers how it happened every night. He feels what true mastery feels like and realizes that he is so close to his goal. The hero is delighted that he finally understands everything and thanks his beloved for her help. He thanks Sul, saying it worked even better than he expected. But she looks worried. The young man says he needs to practice a little before he forgets this feeling and promises to be back for dinner. He felt as if he was about to realize something and was literally one step away from it. In an instant, something deep inside him in the chest area blocked all the energy. The hero screams in despair, unable to contain his rage and disappointment. He punches the tree in rage over and over again, not understanding why nothing changes. His hand is bleeding and he asks in despair why he can't change. He despairs and wonders if he will remain pathetic and useless forever. Suddenly, the head of the Baek Seok clan appears in front of him, who, it turns out, had been watching him all this time. The young man is perplexed and does not understand where Mr. Baek Seok came from. The clan leader easily knocks him to the ground, reminding him of the need to bow his head before his master. He looks at the defeated hero with disdain, saying that someone like him cannot be a martial arts master. Baek Seok is sure that by spreading rumors about himself, the young man will not be able to restore his reputation, because he is as pathetic as ever. The clan leader easily repels his attack, reminding him that he has always been his weakness. Tanhei watches what is happening with bewilderment, not understanding why they do not exchange techniques. The old man says with a smile that it has been a long day for Mrs. Seol-hwa. The mysterious man asks her with a smile if she remembers him, but her gaze is full of coldness. Baek Seol-hwa replies with disdain that he doesn't and orders him to get lost. The girl with pink hair does not understand why the heroine does not remember this man. It turns out that this is Dojin, the chief administrator of the Baek clan, who came here on behalf of the leader. Tanhei shouts in rage that it is her father, but Baek Seol-hwa has never heard of him. The pink-haired girl insists that he is definitely her father, but she just thinks that she is not quite right in the head. Dojin is furious that Mr. Baek sent her a huge number of letters and she never responded. The heroine admits with cold calm that she received letters, but she didn't need them. She indifferently reports that she didn't know who they were from, so she used them for kindling. The manager is furious that she could even open and read one, because she really doesn't have everything in her head. Baek Seol-hwa states that she must be with Yu Hyul, and if that's it, then they can leave. This disgraceful servant, who had already had his ass kicked, was wrapped in a bag like luggage. The manager says with a malicious smile that they came unprepared, because they know very well what her weakness is. Baekseolhwa threatens with icy calm that if they lay a finger on Hyul, they will regret it. She furiously declares that her father and everyone in this house will die if something happens to him. The mysterious old man stops her, saying that the hostage has already been taken and she should not continue. He gives her a choice, revenge or her fiancé, and she silently accepts his conditions. The manager falls to the ground in the pouring rain, and Baek Seolhwa orders him to take her to Hyul. Her eyes flashing, she demands that he take her to him right now. In the past, little Yu Hyul bows, introducing himself as a new employee. He timidly meets Mrs. Sol, and his life in this house begins. The servants are discussing a new, unkempt boy who has been assigned to live with the girl from the outbuilding. They think that she is too strict with the girl, even though she is not her daughter. The young man happily offers his mistress to try the cookies he brought. She says indifferently that she doesn't care, but he insists, assuring her that it is very tasty. The girl looked at the cloudless sky with empty eyes, and her gaze expressed absolutely nothing. But in those same eyes, he could see himself reflected in her indifference. Suddenly, a stranger bursts into the room, disturbing their privacy. He is surprised to recognize the young man as the unpredictable demon swordsman, and frankly, he is pleased with this meeting. The hero is shocked that the castle, which should have been destroyed years ago, is once again standing in its place. The stranger explains with a smile that they rebuilt it, and, of course, with their help. The young man angrily asks why they brought him here and what they are going to do with Sul. The stranger, who turns out to be the young master of the Hebei Peng clan, smiles and invites him to relax. Jin Taiyang says with a smile that he always wanted to meet the unpredictable demon swordsman. The hero looks at him with distrust, not understanding why he was kidnapped. It turns out that the young man was unconscious for 10 days, and all this time Jin Taeyang took care of him. He gave him a secret remedy developed by their clan that would knock out and heal the body. The guy looked too exhausted, and the memories of his tender embrace with Baek Seolhwa made him embarrassed. He admits that he has indeed been through a lot lately. Jin Taeyang looks at him with understanding, saying that he can imagine what it would be like to live under the same roof with the sword of the moon and light. She is a lonely flower that descended like a comet during the mortal combat between the dragon and the phoenix. Her glowing skin and delightful movements made any man dream of picking this flower. He asks enviously how their night went, and the hero angrily orders him to watch his words. Jin Taeyang mockingly says that's why he wanted to meet him while he tries to hit him. He easily dodges the blow and tells him with a grin to shut up. The action takes place at the main headquarters of the Baek clan in the leader's office. Baek Seok scolds his daughter for disrespecting him, but she doesn't want to listen to him. Baek Seolhwa angrily orders him to shut up and give her Hyul. She scornfully calls him stupid as before and draws her sword. Jin Taeyang says with a sneer that it feels like a hot blade is burning through his insides. He watches with interest as the young man twitches in pain and recalls the proverb about the neighbor's green grass. It is the same with people, and tasting what belongs to others is the best seasoning for a dish. The hero screams in rage about what he's going to do to her, unable to contain his anger. Jin Taeyang is surprised to see that the young man can rise in such a state, and it must be the power of love. He says with a devilish smile that in that case he will have fun too, but he is interrupted by a cold voice. Two people appear on the balcony, and it becomes clear that everything has already been decided. The crowd looks in admiration at the gorgeous Baek Seolhwa, who looks simply stunning. Jin Taeyang is delighted with her appearance, saying that it exceeds all expectations. Suddenly, Baek Seok's sword is at his throat, and he is shocked by this turn of events. Baek Seolhwa, with icy calm, says that this is some kind of warning and that the other guests should not interfere. Baek Seok looks at his daughter with irritation, who never listened to him. She says with disdain that it is none of his business, because now she is changing her character only for his sake. He asks with interest what she saw in him, because at first she looked down on him. Tanhei, hiding in a tree, overhears their conversation and realizes that this bitch is tied hand and foot. She realizes with a malicious smile that she has found her weak spot, and such opportunities come once in a lifetime. The young man furiously demands to see her, while the manager begs her to leave him alone. He can't believe that Solhwa accepted this offer, and he doesn't understand why this butler wants him dead. The hero screams in rage at what they did to her and demands to be brought to her. The manager mockingly asks where he gets such self-confidence from and suggests asking him everything. They took advantage of their proximity to lure her, and now her origin, wealth, and appearance are in their hands. He asks with disdain if he really thinks he can live up to her level in any way. The young man sits in the dungeon, thinking about the reinforced locks and guards at the doors. Baekseok says with cold calm that he has always been her weak spot. The young man decides to escape from captivity while he can still see Solwa. Suddenly, the door to his cell swings open and someone falls to the floor unconscious. Tanhei saves him, but he is perplexed as to how she always manages to end up locked up. The pink-haired girl confirms that she saw Seolhwa in the annex, and her words compel him to take action. She asks if he knows about Baek Seolhwa's weak points, since she looks like she's about to kill someone. The thought of his beloved's weak spot makes him run away, because he has created problems for her again. He has no choice and must do everything possible to protect her. He grabs Tana's hand, declaring that she is staying with him and returns to work. Right now, he just needs to see her, and he doesn't look like someone who wants to die. He bursts into the room calling for Solwa, but she is nowhere to be found. The young man notices that this is strange, but Tanhei does not understand what exactly is bothering him. She explains that in such a huge house, there is not a single guard, and it looks very much like a trap. He calls his beloved with relief, offering to get out of here, but her gaze is cold. Baek Seolhwa orders him to stay back, and he freezes in place, confused. He tries to calm her down, saying that everything is okay now because he is here. The hero tries to talk to her, but she pushes his hand away. Suddenly, the girl stabs him, and he is shocked by her betrayal. With cold calm, she announces that she is getting married tomorrow, and his world collapses. Jin Taeyang raves that it's amazing, and he waited all night, but it was worth it. He asks what he did to her, but the young man, blinded by rage, does not hear him. Jin Taeyang says with a devilish smile that tomorrow she will belong to someone else. The young man screams in rage at him to get his nasty little hands off her. He lunges at him, but Baek Seolhwa delivers a crushing blow. She reminds me with cold calm that she already told me that if you touch her without permission, it's the end for you. Tanhei watches what is happening with bewilderment, not understanding what the hell is going on here. She thinks that first they need to get out of here, but the washed-up homeless man dares to be familiar with her. Jin Taeyang mockingly asks if she's not embarrassed to drool over another woman. The pink-haired girl lunges at him in anger, but he catches her with ease. It turns out that this is the elder of the Sebabon family, Pang Yun, and tomorrow is a great day awaiting them. He says he has a lot of things to do and he will deal with them in the evening. But Jin Taeyang is already busy. Baek Seolhwa, with icy calm, orders Tanha to know her place and not poke her nose into other people's business. Suddenly, the elder grabs the girl and she is shocked by such impudence. They came here for the wedding, but they brought with them 100 nasty things. She sees a young man chained up in the corner and understands that this is even worse than those stupid handcuffs. Tanhei tries to console him, saying that Solwa probably only said that because she was threatened. He bitterly realizes that this is the whole problem, and it is all his fault again. He knows that Solwa wouldn't leave him, and that's why her face looked so sad. He had to become stronger to protect her, but he was completely useless. Suddenly, he hears the voice of his beloved and cannot believe that this is not a dream. He realizes that this place is the old mountain behind the Baek family mansion, and he panics. In his visions, he sees little Solva begging him to leave because it is dangerous. The other one tries to stop him, reminding him that he can't even swim. He realizes that if she tries to save him, she will put herself in even greater danger. From the very beginning, there was no place for them in this world, and they were always just a burden to Seolwa. He cries out in despair that he will be on her side, even if he has to go against the whole world. The only place in the whole wide world where Solwa can smile sincerely. She is next to him, and he hugs her tenderly, giving her a feeling of security. The mysterious woman asks him why he decided to take up the sword. He comes to and is surprised to find that the handcuffs have disappeared. It turns out that Tanhei was here all this time and told him something about the Moon Sword. Moon Sword asked her not to poke her nose into other people's business, and it was strange that she called her by name. Tanhei checked his pulse while he was sleeping and discovered something strange. It turns out that it contains the poison loneliness, which is used by demonic clans when they take hostages. This poison allows one to kill a person from a distance, as soon as the sound of the flute reaches his ears. He realizes that Solwa knocked him out before they even turned on the signal. But there's a catch. There's no flute anywhere nearby, and this seems very strange to him. They left his clothes and weapons in a place where he could easily find them, as if they wanted him to escape. He understands that even if they run away, the Moon Sword will still find out about it, and the wedding will go ahead as planned. This is an obvious provocation, and he is offered to either abandon his beloved and run away or take her himself. The wedding ceremony begins, all thanks to the support of the Peng clan. Jin Taiyang speaks with disdain about his nephew, who was born an only child and did not live up to high expectations. He warns Baek Seok that his daughter will suffer the same fate, but he doesn't seem to care. Baek Seok says with icy calm that it doesn't matter, and his hat falls to the ground. The atmosphere around him becomes ominous, and it becomes clear that he does not care about the fate of his own child. The young man decides that running away is not such a bad idea and prepares to escape. Tanhei doubts the success of their plan, especially since the poison of loneliness is still inside him. The hero asks her why she started practicing martial arts, and she looks away, embarrassed. The girl proudly declares that she did this in the name of the great Sichuan Tang clan and the pride of the family. She says with fury that there are things she will never back down from, even if it means death. The young man agrees with her with a smile, understanding her feelings. He promises to come for his beloved, asking her to wait a little. Baek Seolhwa is determined to kill all the bastards who put Hyul in danger. She calls them vile creatures, rotten to the core, and irritating trash. The girl vows to kill them all and find this flute, even if she has to die to do so. She decides to finish them off and return to Hyul, not wanting to wait any longer. Baek Seolhwa angrily repeats that she will kill them all, her eyes burning red. Suddenly, a young man appears and indignantly asks who she thinks she is, stealing someone else's bride. Jin Taiyang mockingly says that the entire villainous world should be ashamed of himself for being considered involved with it. Tana shouts in rage that he used a terrible poison on him, and he is a disgrace to the entire clan. Jin Taiyang says with an innocent smile that he doesn't understand what's wrong with a consensual marriage between the descendants of two great families. Jin Taiyang suggests settling everything through battle, like a true martial artist. He announces that the evil bastard and the young master of the Peng clan will fight for the heart of the Sun Moon Sword. He says with a devilish smile that he knows everything about Yu Hyul and that he is just an empty shell. Jin Taiyang offers him to fight for Seolhwa, confident that he will not be able to refuse. Suddenly, the hero rushes at him, interrupting his speech, and he is shocked by such impudence. The young man delivers a crushing blow, and his fist crashes into Jin Taeyang's face. He screams in rage, asking who gave him the right to use her as some kind of reward. The hero tenderly embraces his beloved, saying that she is the whole world to him. Baek Seolhwa, with icy calm, states that she does not belong to anyone, and who gave him permission to use her as a bet. Tanhei looks at him in surprise, thinking that if the poison is activated by the sounds of the flute, then it can be neutralized by a loud sound. She doubts that they will be able to defeat the flute, since they will only have a verse to do so. Baek Seok looks with disdain at his idiot son who makes everything difficult. He is furious that his daughter is associating with this scum and orders security to be posted. Tanhei, introducing herself as the right hand and trusted assistant of the unpredictable demon swordsman, rushes into the attack. She vows to destroy every one of the idiots who stole the flute. Baek Seok yells his son's name in rage, calling him a bastard. The young man invites his beloved to run away while they still have a chance. Baek Seolhwa easily blocks the blow, demonstrating what it means to be the sword of the sun and moon. The clan leader ordered him to make sure the wedding took place, and he would not let her go just like that. Jin Taiyang is furious that he gave him a chance, and he repaid him like this. The young man is surprised to realize that this really works and suggests that they resolve everything here and now. He understands that if he gets a normal sword, he will be able to protect his beloved. The hero lived his life only to die next to her, and he will not let that happen. Jin Taiyang attacks him with contempt, calling him a third-rate fighter who doesn't know how to distribute his internal energy. The young man easily blocks his blow, and not only blocks it, but also returns his own attack. He screams with rage that he wants to protect the one he loves, and he is not such a helpless idiot. The clan leader is surprised to see that this girl is fighting him on equal terms, with only a blade. Jin Taiyang, furious, orders him to just stop and die. The hero confidently declares that he can handle it, because his opponents are much slower and weaker than him. He understands that they are so thoughtless that they cannot even compare to him. Tanhei watches in surprise as they use the sword in such a strange stance. There are 5 principles of the sword, and only one of them allows the weak to defeat the strong. This principle is softness, which contrasts the third-rate and the highest. The reason he can compete with such a strong man is because his opponent is an idiot. The young man realizes this won't work, and his opponent angrily calls him a damn rat. His arms are tired, and every blocked attack leaves behind a powerful recoil. He realizes that if he continues to simply defend himself, he will definitely lose. But if he goes on the offensive without thinking, then inevitable death awaits him. An attack involves broad actions, and a bad blow that does not lead to the death of an opponent can play a cruel joke on him. Suddenly, the young man strikes a crushing blow, and his sword shines with a blinding light. Jin Taiyang is furious and calls the young man a pathetic bastard, unable to contain his anger. He strikes a crushing blow, confident of his victory, but there is only one answer. The hero aims at a vulnerable spot to destroy it with one blow. The old man, with a wise look, says that this is the right move, but at the same time, it is wrong. Suddenly, everyone disappears somewhere, and the young man is left alone in the middle of an empty hall. He struggles to his feet, not understanding how he managed to block the attack. His head is spinning and he is about to pass out, but he needs to get up no matter what. In the end, nothing has changed, and the poison is still inside him, and he doesn't know what to do next. If she came even a little closer, he would have no choice but to exploit the loneliness again. Jin Taiyang is furious and screaming for enough, his patience running out. He says with disdain that if he is trash, then he should remain trash, and there is no point in even hoping for victory. He orders him to move because he is blocking Solhwa. The young man readily accepts the challenge and shouts with fury that he will destroy him. Suddenly, Baek Seolhwa rushes to intercept her, and her eyes see only him. She gives him her power just once, and he feels his body fill with energy. He is shocked by the power he now has in his hands, and what a loss it is. He deflects Jin Taiyang's attack and finds a spot to aim at. These are vital organs, and a blow to them will be fatal. He delivers the finishing blow, and his beloved embraces him tenderly, apologizing for causing him to worry. Everything was fine, and for him, it was impressive, although he was a little tired. Baek-seok is furious that his subordinate couldn't handle a simple task. Tanhei says mockingly that a true master finishes his fight with one blow. Baek-seok is desperate and doesn't understand where she's leading him, and his world is crumbling. He screams in rage that his life is still in his hands, and if he twitches, he will blow into the flute. The clan leader is shocked at how they could treat the young master like this. Those who fought have already decided everything, and the old people should not interfere in the affairs of the young. The young man is perplexed and does not understand what is happening and why his beloved ended up in the old man's arms. After the Great Demon War, they suddenly retired and spent a long decade in the wilderness. The enraged old man orders the second son of the House of Peng to give in for his own good. It turns out that this old man is her mentor, and the young man is completely perplexed by this turn of events. He taught her everything he knew and simply did what she asked him to do. He watched them because he was afraid that this silly girl might get into trouble. Baek-seok is furious that this bastard just destroyed his nephew in battle. He accuses her of using demonic techniques of solitude, taking the 3 great clans hostage. He asks what she will do now and if she is ready to kill everyone, even an old man like him. The old man looks at her challengingly, asking her to try if she's so confident in herself. He suggests that she take this boy who has just lost all his manhood and get out of sight. The young man is perplexed and does not understand who this old man is and where he came from. He says she's great and it's all over, but there's one here. Tanhei indignantly asks if he thinks it's normal that she beat up 3 high-class fighters as if they were nothing. Baek-seok screams in horror, wondering if she is really going to kill her own father. Baek-seolhwa says with cold calm that he never treated her like a daughter. He asks her mockingly if she thinks he doesn't know that she doesn't hate him. She is afraid of him, and he asks who is afraid of their own child, worthy of being called a parent. He sees disgust in her eyes and asks why she looks at him as if he is something to be afraid of. In the past, he found her, his child, and a lot of time has passed since then. He ordered her to raise her, and now she stands before him, full of determination. Baek-seok is furious and shouts that she is a monster just like her mother and that such a brat cannot be his daughter. He calls her pathetic and doesn't understand how he can like this crazy woman. He orders her to die because a woman cannot be that strong. It is unnatural. He swings his sword at her, shouting that she is not his daughter. She is not even human. Jin Taiyang mockingly asks if he wants to kill the one who fed you the deadly poison himself. The young man proudly introduces himself as a nobody's son from the humble village of Pekso. Baek-seok is furious that he is muttering because his average income is 200 nyans a month. The hero declares with determination that he is not very rich, but will give his daughter everything he has. He respectfully asks for his daughter's hand in marriage, and Baek Seolhwa looks at him tenderly. They merge in a tender kiss, and an atmosphere of love and happiness hangs in the air. Tanhae mockingly says that there is no point in chopping your future relatives into pieces. Baek Seok is perplexed and doesn't understand what kind of stupid coincidence this is and thinks he's hit the jackpot. The poisonous phoenix, with a devilish smile, asks the old man if he has heard of kidney stones. Baek Seolhwa looks at her lover tenderly, asking how she would feel about experiencing the pain of his birth. Life is suffering, a monk once told her, and it seems true to her. His disciple sat and stared at the wall, waiting for a revelation, but she expected nothing and saw nothing. She could forget about the things that made her stomach turn, and that wasn't such a bad thing. Sometimes the wind tickled her skin, and she woke from her light sleep just long enough to think. The sudden appearance of the young man with the ointment always awakened her from this state. He made her smile strangely, even though she had never done that before. He made her feel things she couldn't understand. The maid warns that there will be a little pinching, and all these things came together. In the end, something long forgotten was resurrected within her. They cloud her gaze and calm her distrust. If he makes her feel this way, she'll end it all. A moment's pain will end eternal suffering, no matter how you feel about me. He screams in horror, calling for Mrs. Soul, and rushes into the water after her. She could have ended all of this, but why even a simple look at his face makes her feel more than all this pain and unhappiness. He pulls her out of the water and asks her in despair why she tried to save him. She replies with cold calm that she likes him, and he can't believe it. He couldn't just stand there and watch and kept thinking about her. Love is just a word, but that word destroyed everything she knew about herself. Baek Seolhwa and Yoo Hyul wake up together, wishing each other good morning. Mentor Yang Chun introduces himself and explains that he hasn't taught for a long time. He advises the young man to rest, as he is still recovering from his injury. Suddenly, the old man slaps him, shouting, "Since when do students interrupt their teachers?" He decides to talk in order, while the young man is perplexed and does not understand what is happening. The poison of loneliness that he drank is successfully extracted, and the hero thanks him for his help. It turns out that when he checked the pulse, there was no poison in it anymore. The mentor doesn't know how this happened and can only guess. Internal QI energy is the only explanation, because the body's ability to cleanse itself of toxins is an indicator of the highest degree of mastery. He tells the boy not to get too excited, and his words leave the young man puzzled. It turns out his energy wasn't circulating at all, and it wasn't a matter of talent or body. His dantian is sealed by something extremely powerful, and he is horrified by this news. He remembers using his strength in that battle, and it helped him. The mentor explains that this seal is not simple, and he is not an expert to do anything with it. The hero is in despair that after all this, he thought he could finally be of use to her. He reproaches his mentor for saying that there is little he can do. Once upon a time, there lived a man in tattered clothes with a plain appearance, and he had to appear out of the blue for the head of the demon of the chaotic sword. Lately, there have been too many of these guys, and this place has turned into a real human cemetery. Baek Seolhwa coldly says that it could add to their budget and takes his clothes. The young man thanks his beloved, but she asks with a flirtatious smile if it's just words. Ever since Solwa came home, she has become more persistent. Tanhae is in despair that she has made the biggest mistake of all, and this is the greatest failure. She secretly carried away one dumpling at a time, which were intended for that old man. The pink-haired girl can't believe that the old man is the best under heaven, and it's not a joke. The thought of a fateful meeting makes the young man think about his life. He recalls rumors about the founder of the Chagall family, who was said to be able to control the wind. His seal carries its own will, and the strongest feeling in it is its foreignness. It is highly likely that this should be considered a martial art that has been cursed. The mentor hopes that the young man will find a real spellcaster and successfully solve his problem. He just wanted to make sure of the merits of the man that this wayward girl was following. An old man who left this mortal world long ago decides that it is time for him to return. Suddenly, an old woman bursts into the room, and the young man is shocked by her appearance. It turns out that it is the old woman Doko Yeon, and the old man orders her to quickly return to the nursing home. He said that they needed to find a man without a single clue, but the young man had no idea how to do this. There are so many he doesn't look for, and he doesn't understand why so many people are recklessly getting into fights. The guild leader asks with surprise if he is asking because he doesn't know. Suddenly, the same lady manager appears, and the young man greets her with joy. She wonders what they have been doing all this time and what kind of messenger this Murim is. The rotten and powerless officials, the righteous factions, and the Murim Union, all of them are just sucking the blood out of the common people. In these troubled times, they will once again restore justice and honor, guiding and protecting the common people. It turns out that there were lofty goals behind this, and not just a desire to make money. A cunning, chaotic sword demon attacked the Peng family of Habuk, one of the 5 great clans. The brave groom, the young gentleman, stood valiantly in his way, but the sudden attack came at the most unfortunate place. One cannot help but feel sad that the atrocities of the villains of the unrighteous faction have finally reached their limit. They say that the same chaotic sword demon lives right here in their village. People worry that he might harm them, but they are reassured that he has never appeared. One of the journalists is in a panic that a demon might come to him to forcibly hide the truth. Suddenly 3 people appear behind him and he points at them in horror. He tries to calm them down in a panic, but his life is on the line and he doesn't understand why he came now. He thinks that, given that he ordered food, although it could have been laced with poison, he didn't come to the Hao Brotherhood but simply to eat at the tavern. The guild leader believes that it is largely his fault, since he was afraid of the man even before anything happened. She says that it is her job after all and asks what he plans to do when he finds the Hao Brotherhood. The girl doesn't understand whether he is now planning to take revenge or something like that. Baek says with icy calm that the hands need to be cut off, and her words shock the audience. The young man with a devilish smile says that he will have to bake it well. He offers to bake it and then eat it, and his words horrify the girl. She screams in panic that she will die and be eaten, but he tries to calm her down. They find the Murim messenger and realize that they have found what they were looking for. The young man understands that if they have such an information network, then it will be easy for them to find rumors. False rumors have become commonplace, and bearing them is also commonplace. It seemed she had heard of the dragon priestess from the Chagall family. House Zhuge is the brains of the Marima Alliance, renowned for their strategies, formations, and spells. Their martial arts, which were primarily aimed at defense, were more reminiscent of self-defense. There were rumors in the martial arts world that the martial arts of the House of Zhuge were inferior to those of smaller schools. When other schools began to express doubts, the House of Zhuge made an official statement. Having received a divine artifact and a gifted genius, they acquired a special spell that allows them to develop martial arts. At this festival, they promised to share this power with other warriors. The very existence of such a convenient spell raises suspicions, and the fact that they are going to share it is generally hard to believe. Zhuge's house is now open to all, and crowds of people flock to its gates. The main celebration of the Zhuge family is dedicated to the ancestor of the Zhuge family, Muhu, and a drawing of lots is held for 3 days. Perhaps that is why there are more warriors here than ordinary tourists. Thanks to his masquerade, the young man at least does not attract attention. He hears talk about the young head of the Peng clan, who is said to have finally shown his fangs. The hero mockingly remarks that someone here is suffering from a migraine because of this minor chapter. His beloved asks him with concern if he is in pain and suggests that he rest. Suddenly, Cheonyun's mentor runs up to them, offering him a rest when he is having a hard time. The young man is shocked to be embraced by the elder of the Hwasan school. A visit to a friendly school festival is part of her busy schedule. The mentor reflects on the mysterious priestess and the rumored spell. She thinks that if this power is really so great, it can even reverse death. Evander is horrified by her words, but she says with cold calm that this cannot be dealt with. Cheonyan says goodbye to them with a smile, saying that it was nice to meet them. She apologizes with a smile for her students who caused all this commotion. The mentor informs that a message has just arrived and that trouble will start here soon. There are only 36 people in such a crowd, and they definitely don't have a chance. She orders the Sun and Moon Sword to go with her to the clan leader. With a reputation like the Sun Moon Sword, meeting the priestess one-on-one is no problem. The girl looks anxiously at her lover, who will soon return, and she must wait for him. He hopes that he will be okay and that this Jiren guy doesn't hold a grudge against Seolhwa. There are a whole sea of people in line, and he notices a suspicious guy in a mask among them. He doesn't understand why this guy sat next to him again and asks him not to talk. In the end, only strength and achievements matter in this world. Everyone is simply intoxicated by the feeling of omnipotence that power gives. The mysterious stranger mockingly asks if this is why he came here. He admires those who become stronger. But for him, martial arts are just a stage. He has his sights set on something beyond this. And for that power and achievement, he is willing to do anything. He hopes that he spoke sincerely, and they walk silently through the crowd. The young man suspiciously asks who he is and whether he sells potions. The herald announces the arrival of the priestess, and the crowd erupts in cheers. The ceremony takes place in order of priority, and everyone eagerly awaits their moment. It is the young man's turn, but he understands that he will neither be able to stand up nor ask to examine his body. He looks with interest at the fragment of scale, which does not look like an ordinary stone. The hero introduces himself as Pen-ul from the village of Yukgachan, and his appearance surprises the priestess. She is shocked by his impudence, and he enjoys her reaction with a devilish smile. Suddenly, the priestess falls into his arms, and he is at a loss to understand what is happening. He is panicked that it is happening again and doesn't know how to react. The servant screams in horror that something is wrong with the priestess, but the clan leader orders him to calm down. They apologize for taking him without explanation. It turns out it was just a slight dizziness, but the guards reacted too harshly. With a devilish smile, he offers her to examine his body as worthy compensation. The priestess is furious at his insolence, but he reminds her that he is cursed. She reluctantly hands him the mysterious box, telling him to take this instead of examining her. It turns out that this is an artifact, and the young man is shocked by such a generous gift. She strictly orders him not to lose this box under any circumstances and to handle it with extreme care. If he opens it before time, he will receive the most terrible curse. He is perplexed and does not understand why, with such luck, he received another curse. The girl looks at him reproachfully, not understanding how one can speak to Hyol in such a tone. Usually, if an artifact has a "don't do" inscription, it means that it will definitely happen. The mysterious blue-haired girl looks at them with disdain, reproaching them for not keeping an elementary condition. The young man panics and screams for his beloved to stand up for him, until she realizes what is happening. She turns to the young man, inviting them to love each other. It turns out her name is Zhuge Yeon, and she is the terrible mountain spirit from the terrible chest. Everyone is shocked that a person from Zhuge's house was hiding there, and the blue-haired girl screams in pain. She says with a flirtatious smile that she wants to try what love is. The hero panics and tries to explain that he already has a partner, but she doesn't understand what he means. She asks him to extend his finger, but he asks her to wait a second. The blue-haired girl tries to teach him the science of love, but he is horrified by her actions. A princess who runs away from a noble house is a cliché, of course, but it sounds plausible. This is the same man who was helped to escape by the dragon priestess herself. It would be better to spend the day with her as she wishes, and then the priestess will definitely be obliged to them. Baek Seolhwa is surprisingly calm because it concerns Hyul's treatment. She declares that she will be the only one who will be first with Hyul, and in everything else she is not against it if he wants it himself. The guild leader is confused and doesn't know whether to be surprised or not, but Solhwa's opinion is also important. The priestess and the young man go for a walk, and she asks what they will do first. She suggests that he practice breathing and internal energy management, but he is horrified by her suggestions. He doesn't understand why this priestess chose him, and she explains that his flame was beautiful. He feels like they'll be suspected of kidnapping or something again. The blue-haired girl watches the lion or dragon dance with delight and cannot contain her admiration. The young man panics and shouts for them to stop as they must not be seen. He tries to explain to the girl with blue hair that they can't show off. The merchant screams at her in horror, demanding the bill, and the hero, in despair, realizes that this is the end. He bitterly realizes that now he is just like a nanny. The blue-haired girl remembers coming here 10 years ago and what a wonderful time it was. The holiday lasts 3 days, and today is only the second, and the young man decides to spend one more day with her. Suddenly, a mysterious stranger appears, and her hopes for a quiet day are dashed. She is shocked that he heard their whispers at such an important moment. The stranger smiles and apologizes to the elder of the Zhuge house for disturbing him. He is furious that she smiles so disgustingly, and his patience is running out. The hero angrily shouts that she already said that she doesn't like him. He remembers her face, shining with a blush, and the darkness that whispers her name. He remembers her large and at the same time small palm in his hand. The guy is furious that everything has come to a standstill because of them, and he doesn't understand whether they are really a family or not. He decisively declares that whether she returns or not, only this girl will decide. The stranger says with disdain that he cannot be reached with words and orders that this guest be taught manners. Baek Seolhwa lunges at him with fury, her eyes burning red. Suddenly, people from the Zhuge family appear, and everyone is shocked by their appearance. The elder is horrified that these impudent people dared to cause a commotion right in Zhuge's courtyard. A mysterious masked figure appears and orders that this commotion be stopped immediately. It turns out that this masked man is one of the 5 dragon pillars and the personal guard of Chief Zhuge. The strange dragon Zhuge Huo reports that the clan leader wishes to meet with the guests in person. He uses a rare martial art and is living proof that the dragon priestess has mastered her power. After he received the dragon's name in the tournament, he never appeared again. And for the Sun and Moon Sword, this is the first meeting. The guild leader is furious that instead of being careful, the young man meddled in other people's affairs and met with the clan leader himself. She believes that pathetic tricks won't work here, because this is the head of the Zhuge family, the brain of the entire Marima alliance. The head of the Zhuge family, Zhuge Gang, welcomes the valiant heroes with open arms. He thanks the young man for protecting their child and admires his excellent name. It turns out he's only been the head for 3 years, and his cheerfulness and happy disposition make everyone around him happy. The hero is grateful for the warm welcome, but he can't just let the girl go with such a frightened face. He furiously asks if they are sure it is really her family and what they have done to her. The guild leader is shocked that this brat doesn't mince his words at all. He mockingly asks if he thinks that since he showed hospitality, everything is permitted to him. He realizes that this is how it looked from the outside, and he feels awkward. He recalls that they wanted to live as a family, but it turned out like this. Zhuge Gang swears on the family's behalf that they will grant her freedom, and thanks Peng Ul for pointing out their mistakes. The guild leader is perplexed, because the heads of noble families are usually a bundle of pride. Suddenly, the noble hero Cho Peng Ul awakens within the young man, and this is what makes him feel the worst. The guild leader is furious that he called himself a loyal knight, and now he is so protective and caring for this girl. It's more of a feeling of kinship when you're abandoned by people who called themselves family. The young man knows what it is like to be alone in this world, and that is why he could not turn away. He tries to explain to his beloved that everything is not as she thinks, but she tenderly reassures him. Baek Seolhwa says with a smile that this is exactly why she loves him. Suddenly, an alarm sounds and strangers enter the priestess's chambers. The guild leader suggests going to see what happened, but the young man believes that it is none of their concern. He fears that if they interfere, they might be suspected of kidnapping the dragon priestess. The clan leader is in a panic because the guests were woken up and tries to calm everyone down. It turns out they were simply told that a chaotic swordsman had appeared, and the Sun-Moon sword was his natural opponent. The chaotic swordsman finds himself tied up, and a mysterious masked girl greets friends from the Zhuge family. She proudly declares that the dragon priestess and dragon scale now belong to their chaotic swordsman guard. The mentor easily repels the guard's attacks, demonstrating her incredible strength. She mockingly asks, since when do demonic cultivators like plum blossoms? Cheonyeon looks at his opponent with disdain, saying that plum wine only gets sweeter with age. She announces that she is taking the priestess with her on behalf of the chaotic swordsman and orders him to stand. The mentor orders her people to retreat to the rally point, and they obey without question. The heroes are shocked that this guy is a chaotic swordsman, and his gang are some kind of creatures. She understands that they will somehow fight off the little ones, but the solar sword is a problem. They committed the kidnapping for a higher purpose, but taking hostages was going too far. Ivandu orders his disciples to close their eyes, and his body is illuminated by a blinding light. Everyone is screaming in horror. Their eyes are burning, and they hate this bald bastard. The teacher asks her boys for forgiveness and advises them to rinse their eyes with cold water. She proudly declares that everyone worked hard and the task was completed. Suddenly, a young man appears and asks what kind of task it was for which they stole someone else's identity. He is shocked that his new acquaintance endured the elders' Usunmyeon Cholgi. Cheonyeon apologizes, saying that they were just too eager to get that very same Moony magic. The young man looks at her suspiciously, not believing that the elder is kidnapping people out of greed. With that expression on her face, she wouldn't be able to wash away her guilt, and he screwed up again. He furiously asks why the hell they did all this and that they also have business with this Moony. The bound and gagged girl tries to say something, but it is not the real Moony. It turns out they missed her, and even those deacons from the Sun Sword sect too. The night suddenly became brighter than the day, and everything around was engulfed in flames. Her real name is Chigil Young, and 10 years ago she lost her parents and brother to an epidemic. The head of the clan saw in her a frightening gift called the Eye of the Lord of Flame. For her, all the people in this world were just fire because the flame was beautiful. She was brought here not as a talent, but as a key to something greater. Even the elder shamans of the family who tried to touch her died one after another. But even with her innate gift, using something like this was too much, and every time she called out to her brother in pain. It is unknown whether she resigned herself or gave in, but at some point she stopped calling her brother and simply obeyed. The festival didn't allow the real priestess and artifact to be shown, so she went out with an ordinary piece of stone instead. She also grew up in Chagall and simply tried to turn a blind eye to everything. She said she wanted to experience love at least once before she died. On the last day of the ceremony, Samgoji had to undergo a huge ritual, and that was why she secretly hid in the chest. When she finds a suitable hero with a strong soul fire, she will give him a signal. In the end, she was caught so easily, and he doesn't understand what's happening. These very scales were real dark purple obsidian, and she thought so. The elder knew what it was and still went along with it. The young man looks at his beloved with suspicion, asking if they both saw this object. It turns out that this is the same piece of obsidian with a purple tint that they left behind. They wanted to use them to get back what they had lost back then, and that was the insanely terrifying power of the demonic sect. The long wait is coming to an end, and the day has come when the dragon, clinging to the earth, will finally soar into the sky. The young man doesn't know what to do, but he wants to help Zhuge Yan, even though she's waiting for help from someone else. If she wanted to escape, she should have done it immediately and not sat there without resistance. The most important thing is not that she is risking her life, but that Seol Hua will be the one fighting in the end. Suddenly, they are surrounded by armed men, and the young man is terrified by their appearance. He shouts in rage at what they are doing, barging in like this without an invitation. It turns out that they decided to appropriate the priestess for themselves, and now a cruel reprisal awaits them. The chaotic swordsman had completely lost his fear, and this morning the Zhuge clan issued an order to execute him. He won't let some fallen plum stand in his way. The Zhuge clan will not touch those who are not involved in this and asks them to step aside. Suddenly, Baexiel Hua kisses her lover, and he is shocked by her sudden outburst. An unexpected kiss and a shared circulation of energy, and she knows that if she wants it, Hyul will accept it. Everything that Hyul wants is her desire, because husband and wife are one. The experiment was successful, and the preparations were perfect. The chaotic swordsman's minions have been overwhelmed, but they still have their sights set on the Zhuge clan. He thought that they would attack immediately upon meeting, and he even prepared himself. That imposter and Cheonyang have probably already told them everything, and that's even for the best. An obstacle equal to Cheonyang's came into his hands, and for that, he should thank fate. The servant screams in panic that the chaotic swordsman is coming straight here. Baexiolhua orders Sora to immediately head to the Zhuge clan and help the Lord Chief and Zhuge Young escape. The young man shouts in rage that he, the chaotic swordsman, wants to say something. He orders everyone to listen because it is he, the same chaotic swordsman with a scar and a nasty face. He claims that it was he who kidnapped the priestess and the dragon scale and shows everyone the fake. He asks if they think that if they take his head, they will simply be given the promised reward. But he is not like that, and from now on he will tear the Zhuge clan to pieces. And when he finds a real dragon scale, he will cast a spell of power on each of them without exception. They have only two options. Either go with him and gain power, either continue to believe in the false promises of the Zhuge clan and stand against the chaotic swordsman. The entire defensive formation is destroyed, and people are in a panic and do not understand what is happening. The crowd, inspired by his speech, rushes to attack, and Lord Chaotic Swordsman is with them. All the bad fame that had followed him before, and his name was already disgraced. The young man declares with determination that it is time for him to take advantage of this. The clan leader is furious that the righteous Hosan sect is collaborating with the chaotic swordsman. He doesn't understand where this bastard came from, because they knew about every strong opponent. Besides Hosan and the chaotic swordsman, everyone else there is a rabble, and they just need to buy time. Kiriona orders the Black Claw Squad to be released, but the young man panics and screams that it is not necessary. He is glad that everyone listened to him, and understands that the main reason is that the Zhuge clan was considered easy prey. Suddenly, the personal detachment of the head of the Zhuge clan appears, and their appearance is terrifying. They warn the chaotic swordsman to remain vigilant, and this is the true form of the Zhuge clan's art. From this fragment of residual power, the heavenly demon sword was finally reborn. That day, the flame took everything, and just to grab that hand again, he is ready to do anything. His ugly face and anger will not allow him to go further, and he cannot come to terms with this. But for a warrior, sharpness is a good quality, and it is enough to just slightly direct the tip of his blade. He stands out among them. Even though they all receive the same training and patronage, it's hard for us and the common people, and there are many who have fled, unable to bear it. He is congratulated and is now a family of the Zhuge clan. Suddenly, a chaotic swordsman appears, and the young man is confused as to why he is here again. He lunges forward and his sword collides with his opponent's sword. He suggests that they first sort things out between them, the dragons, and names Guandu. Cheonyeon confidently says that everything is fine and she will leave it to her. He thought their breakup with the promise of meeting in a duel was cool, but now he is terribly embarrassed. Suddenly, Guangdu receives a crushing blow and falls to the ground. The teacher says with a grin that he should pay attention to himself because this is already too much. It turns out that even among dragons, Guandu was definitely ahead of the rest, and his strength was demonic. With a devilish smile, he offers the young man to obtain this power at any cost. He understands that he simply has no choice, and this is the fate of the Marima people. Cheonyeon orders him not to get distracted, and their swords cross again. She says with disdain that all this is ridiculously funny, because in the end, everyone is only chasing power. He is furious at her banal logic and promises to give her the same banal ending. Their swords clash in a furious fight, and the air fills with tension. The young man can hardly believe what is happening, as if the very earth and sky are trembling from their battle. Suddenly, he is thrown to the side and is shocked by the force of the blow. He sees Baek Seolhwa carrying off the guild leader and doesn't understand why she abandoned him and started a war. She explains that she simply dropped her off somewhere safe, but she is furious at being treated this way. In this situation, it is safest to be near them, especially since they know where that girl is. Baek Seolhwa easily breaks down the door and they find what they were looking for. The stranger asks with a grin where they have gone and whether petty theft is all they are capable of. He, Zhuge Sa, would teach the likes of them a lesson as a master of the arts of the highest level. Baek Seolhwa and the guild leader interrogate the maid, asking what she is looking for. Only a few know about such an important matter, and they don't have time for torture. Such an important ritual would hardly be carried out in public view, and they would certainly have prepared a suitable place. Baek Seolhwa thinks it's easier to go around everything herself, but she's warned about the Sai family's vast holdings. She believes that they would not write down such secrets in documents, and that she is just a traitor. Suddenly, the guild leader finds a record of the construction of 2 basements near the residence of the head of the family 10 years ago. They tried to cover their tracks, but there were several big holes in the accounting. Judging by the situation, we are talking about the construction of a top-secret basement. And now, when the head of the family devotes all his strength to protecting the ritual, this is their only chance. The guild leader doesn't know much about rituals, but she decided to check the most central point of the estate. The maid is shocked that she managed to check all the documents during this time. The guild leader looks at her with disdain, asking how she dares to talk to her like that. Now they know the approximate location, and Baek Seolhwa uses her power to find what they were looking for. She feels a faint but distinct energy beneath the head of the family's residence. She prepares to strike using the sun-moon sword technique. Chin's hour is the time to step out, and she unleashes all her power in one crushing blow. The head of the family fends off her attack with difficulty, not believing that she dared to do such a thing. He screams furiously that this cannot be done, and a powerful aura envelops his body. Baek Seolhwa is shocked that he blocked the sun-moon sword. Suddenly, the young man is thrown aside by a powerful blast wave. He comes to, not understanding what is happening, and has difficulty remembering the shock. The wall in the basement cracked and then simply fell out, and he realizes that it was a palace. The blue-haired girl looks in horror at her bodies lying in the ruins. The young man is horrified and doesn't understand whether he has died, but the girl with blue hair explains that his soul simply left its shell. It turns out that this is the central ritual hall, and he touched one of the formations, causing his soul to become stuck in prison. He heard that it was some kind of terribly important ritual, and it was still going on. Whenever something big is about to happen, they always lock her in here and use her body as a puppet. He understands that she is not a student, but just a key, and he feels ashamed that he came to save her, but ended up getting caught himself. The girl with blue hair doesn't understand why she suddenly needs to be saved. It's far beyond anything she could have imagined, and she's overcome with horror. She realized even then that she was not an ordinary girl, but this was not at all what she expected. It is said that in terms of pure strength, the Zhuge clan is inferior to the average sex, but it is still one of the 5 great clans. She fights him on equal terms, alone, and she's not even 20 yet. But the sword of the sun and the moon, the words genius or monster don't even come close here. He always believed that in a defensive duel it makes no difference to anyone. But she shatters all his formations and charms as if they were made of waste paper, and he doesn't understand who the hell she is. She proudly declares that she is Hyol's wife and cannot describe herself any other way. He believes that another strong fighter is only to their advantage, and this does not bother him. He decides to play with her a little more and with a devilish smile prepares to attack. The young man asks if these people don't make her life unbearable, and she confirms that they do. He is alarmed to realize that she will most likely die and does not understand why she does not even try to escape. She asks indifferently why and what she will get if she runs away. He says with despair that she will no longer suffer and will be able to enjoy life outside. The young man asks hopefully if she really had fun during the holidays. She sadly admits that it was nice because it reminded her of the past. The flame she sees is never the same, and it flickers with every passing moment. The souls of those she loves burn brightest, like the setting sun, just as he burns now. It reminds her of that tiny flame she so desperately wanted to keep alive. But that day it went out, trampled and burned to the ground. He understands that she is wrong, and nothing will change, neither there, outside, nor here. The hero picks her up in his arms, shouting at her to stop putting herself above everyone else. He angrily asks her if she thinks she's the only one who felt that way. His fire was also extinguished, and more than once he froze to death. He tenderly asks to be allowed to help her find a new flame. Suddenly, a mysterious hand blocks his path, declaring that this is not destined to happen. The clan leader says with a devilish smile that this will never happen. Suddenly, the sky darkens and the Black Claw squad retreats on the orders of their master. The teacher is shocked by what they did and does not understand what is happening. Cheon-young easily parries the blow, demonstrating his superiority. He asks with a grin why he announced the spell in advance and attracted their attention. Baek Seolhwa angrily orders him to shut up and die, but he only looks down on her. He is at a loss to understand what the hell is going on and why his power has disappeared. Zhuge explains with a devilish smile that this is exactly how the power of divine demonic subjugation works. His true power is not to divide, but to consume. And he looks down upon his victim with a devilish smile. He orders the Sun and Moon Sword to stop resisting, as its power is fading away and he will use it wisely. The teacher screams in horror, wondering if he's going to become the next heavenly demon. The demon cult fell, and the martial arts union gained political immunity. They say that in this world, when power is divided, it tends to merge again. He mockingly says that if her limbs do not obey her, then how is she different from a rotting corpse? The age of hidden dragons ends here and now, and they will no longer be ridiculed. For old time's sake, he gives her a parting gift, and a powerful aura envelops his body. This is a new sky, and he is ready for the final battle. He delivers a crushing blow and blood splatters in all directions. The ritual has already begun, and be that as it may, after the ritual she will have to be pulled out. Suddenly, Giryan appears and the boy is shocked by his appearance. He is struck in the back and falls to his knees, unable to resist. It turns out that all this time he was literally holding on by his word of honor, and there was no more internal energy left. He asks what it's like and if he understands now. He never needed power, he just wanted to earn their trust, find that child and escape. If he loses his power, he will have nothing left. No family, no comrades. That's why he can't let go and he has to end this curse. He doesn't understand why the plan didn't work perfectly and he should have already crossed 14 stars. He is furious that something has gone wrong, and a powerful blue aura envelops his body. Baek Seolhwa screams in rage, asking if he stole this power. The teacher doesn't know how it works, but it looks like the Sun and Moon Sword has intercepted the energy. She was completely consumed by demonic energy, and they created something much more dangerous. Cheon-young screams in horror for the Sun-Moon Sword to come to her senses. He was always the weak one, always the one who was saved. He knows that he doesn't feel a bit sorry, and that gives him strength. For their sake, for the sake of those who believe in him, he will overcome his enemy. He rushes into the attack, shouting that he cannot look away. She just stood and watched alone through the long night. She herself didn't notice how dawn began to rise behind her. He picks her up in his arms, and sunset is followed by dawn. The strength leaves him and he screams in despair, not understanding what is happening. He searches in panic for the Black Claw Squad, not understanding where everyone has gone. He doesn't understand how those two managed to interfere, since the barrier shouldn't have fallen in the first place. Baek Seolhwa easily deflects his attack, preventing him from escaping. He furiously orders the ritual to be restarted, because it is not too late. He orders that this bastard be brought back quickly, immediately. Cheon-yun looks at him with cold calm, tired of his old familiar antics. He screams in rage at what she is doing without seeing the bastard standing there. He asks if she's going to give him everything, including the fragment of the heavenly demon sword and the key. The young man shouts in rage that she is not the key. She is Juga. No, she is Soyeon. Baek Seolhwa easily deflects his attack, and he realizes that the thing belongs to him. He delivers a crushing blow and blood splatters in all directions. The crowd shouts the name of the demonic sword of chaos in delight, calling him their hero. The guild leader asks doubtfully if she is sure that this will destroy the honor of the orthodox sects. Cheon-yun admits that she was going to blame everything on the chaos sword demon and quietly disappear. She couldn't ignore his words, and last time she was so calm. She is truly sorry that everything turned out this way, and she looks at what is happening with sadness. The head of the Zhuge clan disappeared after the battle with the Chaos Sword Demon. Everyone is shocked that the Chaos Sword Demon is hunting for the fragments and needs to be eliminated immediately. They remind her that they were ordered not to touch him, but she doesn't want to listen. The first fragment was in the possession of the Huashan sect, and the second one should have also fallen into their hands after this incident. They still planned to get rid of the Zhuge clan leader after the experiment was completed. She speaks as if it doesn't concern her, but she feels a little sorry for their father. It seems like she's now the new head of the Zhuge clan, and she's not happy about it at all. The 9 greatest sects in the martial arts world are called the 9 sects and 1 clan. When all these forces came together, the Martial Arts Association was born. And then the West, having waited a long time for the moment, launched a large-scale invasion, giving rise to a great demonic sect. The heretical sects were the first to take the blow and single-handedly held the Western Front. The association suffered catastrophic losses, including the fall of the Huangbo clan. The Sichuan Tang clan, previously considered heretical, led the association to victory. However, the damage from the war was colossal, and for a long time all efforts were spent on restoration. The fragile peace was shattered when the home of the current strongest fighter in the Celestial Empire drew his sword. They quickly ousted the Zhuge clan and took complete control of the association. Kang Zhuge, who temporarily led the clan, lost not only his main forces, but also his only child. He could resist as much as he wanted, but sooner or later he would still be crushed by the mad demon of the chaotic sword. Whether he's joking or not, it won't be included in the report, and it's a shame they lost track of Kang Zhuge. Now no one will speak ill of you, chaotic sword demon, I guess. Great hero Hyul, I, Elder Cheon-young of the Huashan sect, sincerely thank you for your help. With a flirtatious smile, she offers him to pay with his body right now. He orders her to give a signal if she spots the right person, and thanks her for coming to save him. Now that it's all over, they return to our original goal. The guild leader says with irritation that the two of them should get their own carriage. A blue-haired girl with a flirtatious smile invites him to set her heart on fire. He is shocked by her words, and the innkeeper asks if he has finally acquired a concubine. The guild leader looks at him reproachfully, reminding him that he abandoned her in the middle of the battlefield. She asks what he plans to do with her, and it's a good thing her identity wasn't revealed thanks to the double. He is furious that she says she won't take responsibility. He said that he would help her start over, build a new life. He declares with determination that they are doing it anyway, and her heart is already burning beautifully. The owner of the house says with relief that at least she is alive and energetic, and asks how they are going to solve the housing issue. Baek Seolhwa calmly declares that she and Hyul sleep together every night, leaving everyone shocked. The enraged owner shouts that this is not an inn, but a penal servitude. The girl with blue hair enthusiastically declares that she will earn money. She easily reads the thoughts of her owner, who has never even held a girl's hand in his entire life. The owner is furious that she is asking to be beaten and not to work. The blue-haired girl easily reads the guild leader's thoughts, and she admits it with surprise. They sign a labor contract, and the guild leader says with a smile that she is accepted. With such talent, she would become a unique trader, and the two of them would soon be dependent on her. The young man gently strokes her head, and she gratefully accepts his affection. He asks what's going on with that witchcraft thing, and if he's a master now. The guy asks her challengingly if she thinks she can remove the seal. He confidently declares that he can break her right now, and his determination knows no bounds. He sleeps peacefully, and his beloved hugs him tenderly, guarding his sleep. She kisses him and he wakes up, relieved to know she's here. She knows he would rather die than listen to her. But if he needs to become stronger, there's only one thing he lacks: an understanding of who he really is. Baek Seolwa is doing housework and her appearance is mesmerizing. She tenderly wishes him good morning, and he smiles back. A week had passed since their return, and although Seolwa said everything was fine, he still felt awkward. The young man notes with surprise that they got along well, although the elder did not like her at all. The blue-haired girl shyly suggests that they have sex after eating to improve digestion. He's not exactly against it, but he can't say he likes it either. She looks at him tenderly, saying that this is enough for her, because he looks so happy when they get along. He is delighted with her words and shouts how much he loves his wife. The owner of the house is furious that he showed up here so early to show off his wife. He says with annoyance that, like a fool, he was worried and thought he was still moping around there. The young man asks for help to remove the seal as quickly as possible, but something is wrong here. There is not a drop of malice in this spell. On the contrary, it is literally saturated with it. A deep sense of guilt, and the seal inside him seem to be begging him not to destroy it. She doesn't know how exactly it works, but one thing is clear. The seal was placed for his own good. He suggests taking it off for a moment and then immediately putting it back in place. But this is out of the question. The owner of the house was perplexed by the fact that he had wasted so much effort and simply gave up. Soyeon is a true genius, but she has been used as a tool her entire life, so she has little understanding of magic. So there is not much choice, and we will have to look for another way to solve his problem. He is indeed upset and is not happy about this whole situation, but he is not going to throw a tantrum. Suddenly, Baek Seolwa puts his sword to the owner's throat, saying that one of his men attacked him. The frightened owner, in tears, assures that everything is fine and he will take responsibility for the damage. He asks why one should endure all this injustice for the sake of the path of a martial artist. It's not that he hasn't thought about it, but he just can't give up. More than anything, he wants to become the one who can protect Seolwa. The owner of the house asks suspiciously if his teacher knows anything about this. He invites him to think for himself, because the teacher should know him better than anyone else. He is shocked that his teacher could hide something important from him. It wasn't a matter of trust at all. It was just that his teacher was a mediocre warrior. Meanwhile, in the forest, a group of people are preparing to move out. One of them notices something in the tent and decides to check it out. He wakes up his comrade in a panic, saying that it's time for them to get ready. It turns out they were hired to guard the merchant guild and they must fulfill their duties. Suddenly, a mysterious woman comes out of the tent and wishes everyone good morning with a smile. She hugs the young man with a flirtatious smile, apologizing for her behavior. The angry guards shout that they are shameless creatures and that they will soon have to perform. Now they are shameless creatures, and she mockingly asks if they should continue. The girl is sick, and the young man is horrified that she has been drinking all night long. She justifies herself by saying that there are things that can only be forgotten in wine. The Baek clan was wiped out during an attack by a bandit sect. He was just a skinny servant who couldn't even read. That year, he turned 14 and was already too old to begin training in martial arts. He was too young for real work and ended up as a regular worker in the merchant guild. For a whole year, he begged every hired guard to take him as an apprentice. The mysterious stranger smiles and says that he will take him in, and the young man is shocked by his words. From that day on, he is his disciple, and his gaze is full of determination. He pretends that he is about to die, but the teacher, with cold calm, tells him to die then. He asks him to be patient a little longer, but this smell is about to knock him over. Ms. Moonyan will be taking up the rear guard today, and he breathes a sigh of relief. They are entering the final stretch of their journey north, and this mountain ahead is their last obstacle. He believes in his Hao brothers, and meanwhile someone whispers in his ear. It turns out that this third-rate girl had been behaving so quietly all this time. Internal energy is what distinguishes a martial artist from an ordinary person. A third-rank fighter is essentially an ordinary trained person with an unawakened energy center. One can become a second-rank master only when energy begins to circulate throughout the body, granting strength. When you gain complete control over this energy, you enter the realm of superhuman possibilities. The mentor he finally found turned out to be a complete non-entity. just a third-rate girl. He tries to calm her down, telling her that she has no reason to be angry, but she is furious. She screams that everything he said is the absolute truth, and that is precisely why there is no need to get angry. He is ashamed to even raise his head, and all because of her, his teacher. She says mockingly that it is no wonder he is afraid to raise his head when such a wonderful mentor is nearby. He's sick of her and he's screaming at her to stop. She smells like she just threw up. Suddenly, the head of the trading guild appears, and everyone is shocked by his appearance. He explains that he spent the whole day at the inspection and decided to stretch his legs a little. The guild leader mockingly asks if they have heard that they are now in the territory of the Green Forest Bandits. The young man apologizes, saying that all they do is quarrel all the way. He explains that he hired him only because he was cheap and didn't expect much. The guy admits with a smile that he didn't have much of a choice either when he decided to follow her. The guild leader agrees with the young lady that there is nothing to fear. All sorts of scoundrels like to inflate their value, and he himself had crossed these mountains more than once. He'll bet his hand on them if they actually show up. Suddenly they are attacked by bandits, and the front line is already crumbling. The young man screams in panic that they need help, but his teacher doesn't understand what he means. She coldly calmly declares that they are leaving here and grabs the head by the collar. He is perplexed and does not understand how she imagines this, because they are obliged to help them. He is furious that his teacher despises everything so much and asks if she has a conscience. She angrily screams that he will die before he can blink if he continues to yap like this. She asks what he's trying to achieve and reminds him that they're already here. It seems they have no other choice, and she draws her sword with determination. She ties him up, telling him there is no choice, and he is shocked by her actions. She explains that she would have run away long ago if it weren't for him. She says that if she were alone, she would have abandoned this caravan and left here long ago. He is horrified by her words, but she reminds him of the first rule. She says you have to avoid fights and put your life first, and that's the law. The young man asks in despair why they taught him to use a sword at all. The leader of the union tries to calm everyone down, saying that the great hero Mayun is still fighting for them. He is confident that the hero has already dealt with the villains and is rushing to their aid. Suddenly, Mayun appears and everyone looks at him with hope, believing that he will save them. It turns out that he was also captured, and he notes with irony that for a merchant, he is too quick to jump to conclusions. The head of the union is horrified that such a monster has appeared here and asks the great hero for forgiveness. The whole gang is already assembled, and the mysterious woman greets them with a smile. She turns out to be one of the outcast 8 of the Green Forest, and the leader of the union is shocked by what she's doing here. She says with a grin that she rarely gets involved in such skirmishes, but this time unforeseen circumstances arose. It turns out she's deeply in debt from gambling, and there's nothing unexpected about that. The head of the union begs them to take all the goods and all the money just to spare them. The girl looks at him with contempt, saying that it is already hers. She checked their cargo, and it was clearly not enough to cover her debts. She declares with a devilish smile that she will sell them all to a slave trader tomorrow. Everyone is horrified by her words, not believing that they will be sold into slavery. They cry out in despair that they cannot be sold into slavery because what will happen to their families? She decides to wait for the right moment, when the time comes, and she will get at least the 2 of them out of here. She has something to say, and she suggests that they go straight to the merchant guild and demand ransom for the people. This way, they will get more profit and everyone will be able to reunite with their families. She asks him with a grin who he is, and the young man introduces himself as Hyul Yu, a student of a martial arts master. The mysterious woman smiles and says that she has something for Hyul Yu too. She admits with a devilish grin that she adores people like him, selfless and brave. He receives a crushing blow and falls to his knees, unable to resist. She looks at him with disdain, saying that she needs to seriously pull herself together. She decides that this is all, because they are still goods after all. The guild leader is horrified that he was captured, but the young man assures him that he is fine. He proudly shows off the key he managed to steal, and everyone is shocked by his courage. They owe the young hero a huge debt of gratitude and need to get out of here before they're spotted. The door opens and they rush to freedom while they have the chance. The young man urges his teacher, urging her to run while she has the chance. She says mockingly that that first-class warrior might have suspected something. Actually, she really was going to sell them this time, but this kid managed to hook her. She wonders with interest what kind of faces they will make when they realize how they were fooled. Suddenly, a mysterious woman attacks her from behind, and she doesn't have time to react. She is horrified that she didn't even notice her approach and doesn't understand who she is. Even now, she doesn't feel her presence at all, and this frightens her. The teacher asks why she taught him how to use a sword at all, and he doesn't understand where she's going with this. She kisses him tenderly, apologizing that she just needed to get her sword. She orders them to leave here before they are caught, and he looks after her, embarrassed. She promises him never to do that again and never to leave him to die. A mysterious girl with pink hair with a menacing look declares that she has a job for him. She points a finger at him with disdain, calling him someone who can barely make ends meet. She asks how long he will toil for a stranger and whether he wants the same fate for his children. She knows the perfect place for him, where a real breakthrough awaits him. She invites him to go to the casino and take his own house and land. She encourages everyone to cultivate their lands on their own estates, because this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Meet the poisonous phoenix Danhei, and the crowd erupts in cheers. The security guard regretfully informs them that they do not accept anyone under 20. Suddenly, a mysterious beauty arrives, and her appearance causes everyone to be delighted. The security guard, with a lustful smile, says that the more people, the better, and the main thing is to keep an eye on that woman. The girls look around with delight, feeling the smell of money in the air. They check their military funds, and it turns out that one of them even received an advance. The first thing they decide to do is mortgage the property. It turns out it's a mortgage on real estate, and the girl with blue hair is shocked by this. She clutches the mortgage deed for the Penwall Inn with a devilish smile. There is a saying in the Great Tang clan, repay kindness with kindness and repay an insult tenfold. In other words, you first need to win in order to get even for all the good and bad. She hugs her friend tenderly, saying that with their strength they are invincible. No one dares to stand in her way, and she watches what is happening with delight. Suddenly, a young man appears and she screams in horror, asking what he is doing here. The young man says he is here for security reasons while his beloved changes her clothes. The pink-haired girl is furious that she is not allowed to go because she is old enough to spend time with her friends. She blushes embarrassedly at his question and declares that if it weren't for training, she would already be married. He notes with irony that most of them get married before they're 20 and decides to leave them alone. Tanhei orders them to behave decently and not get into trouble, but it is her presence that frightens him the most. She realizes with horror that if he is here, then the sword of the sun and moon is also somewhere nearby. The girl with blue hair doesn't understand what the problem is because she has her gift. Tanhei, with a devilish smile, says that there is no need to worry. She will sort everything out. She reminds her friend that there is only one thing she needs to remember. The pink-haired girl bets confidently and must have a great hand. She orders to watch what she does because when the enemy shows a weak spot, you need to act. Tanhei accepts the bet and goes all in, and her opponent is shocked by such impudence. He is horrified that she only has 3 points and cannot believe his failure. It turns out she only has 1 point, and she celebrates her victory with delight. The blue-haired girl apologizes for not knowing the rules, but Tanhei says she did everything right. It's all the fault of that crazy swordsman, and she's furious that nothing but failure is following her. Ever since she met him, nothing but failure has haunted her, and her friend notices that she is simply looking for someone to blame. Suddenly, a mysterious figure in a red hood appears and offers her a round. She is furious that they don't have a single coin, but the stranger doesn't ask for their money. He declares with a devilish smile that they will bet their lives on it, but she scornfully refuses. The pink-haired girl says with disdain that who would think of risking their life? It's stupid. The casino manager, Chung Mu, flatteringly says that he is just a walking army. He thanks her for agreeing to leave her weapon with them. Suddenly, Baek Xiaohua appears in a revealing outfit, and the young man is shocked by her appearance. He shouts in rage at what he dressed up as someone else's wife, but it turns out to be a misunderstanding. She says with surprise that she definitely left a guard's uniform here, and not this traditional performance costume. As soon as she saw this outfit, she immediately knew that she wanted to seduce him in it. She asks him with a flirtatious smile how he likes her, and he, embarrassed, admits that he likes her. Suddenly, the manager gets hit in the eye and screams in horror from pain. He panics and says that they can rest here and he will come back for them later. The young man asks with concern if everything is okay with this guy. The manager, with a devilish smile, says that they will get more from him. The bet is 20 silver coins with a minimum bet of 1 coin. The game will end after 20 rounds or when one side runs out of money. If she wins, She takes all the silver coins, and if he wins, she takes all the silver coins. He takes her to the mad swordsman as he promised, and they begin the game. This fool doesn't even suspect that the mad swordsman is already here in the casino. She has incredible power at her side, and although she doesn't understand why she has it, it doesn't stop her from winning. She decides to bet 19, risking everything from the very beginning. He says with a devilish smile that, of course, no matter what she bets, his card will still be better. She sees a sign from So-yeon and realizes that he is probably bluffing. She accepts the bet and, with a devilish smile, prepares to reveal all her cards. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierces her and she screams in horror from the surprise. She is furious that he, such an asshole, thinks that since he is losing, he can solve everything by force. She looks at him defiantly, telling him to try, and her body is engulfed in green flames. He mockingly asks if she doesn't see that an honest victory is already right under her nose. She furiously accuses him of having just switched the cards. Kwatu is a battle of flowers, and if you can't take a hit, then you're still just a child. She says with a devilish smile that this is how he wants it. There is some commotion outside, and the young man decides to go and check what happened. He hears something go bang and realizes he was told not to go out, but he has to check. He sees people running in panic and is horrified that they are playing Hwatu. A real battle is unfolding on the roof, and everything around is shaking from powerful blows. She summons Secret Royal Inspector as an attack, and they charge the cards with energy. She draws 3 special cards from her sleeve and combines them to create the ultimate combo. The young man screams in horror for them to stop, not understanding what they're doing. It turns out to be a chaotic sword demon, and she orders it to shoot. He is shocked that they don't recognize him and shouts in rage at how dare they not recognize him. It reminds him of the disfigured face they destroyed along with that girl. Look, it's him, Kyung-chul, and his face is distorted with anger and fury. The young man asks in bewilderment who he is, and he is overcome with anxiety. The servant asks worriedly how his master's eyes are, but he still feels dizzy. He asks suspiciously if she thinks that this bitch suspects something. He believes that this girl from the light factions could have warned them out of the kindness of her heart. He orders them to act strictly according to the plan, because he saw this bastard hanging around near their shop. In the past, he would shout in rage that whatever the reason, it was too much. He is desperate because if it weren't for that scumbag Hyul Yu, he wouldn't be in such a shitty situation. He plans to use their connection to force these wicked bastards at each other's throats. He will finish off the exhausted survivor and rake in a fat jackpot for their heads. He didn't expect him to bring the Sun and Moon Sword with him, but he already knew that the two of them were having an affair. Her presence was even beneficial, since he evened the odds by taking their weapons away. He looks at her with disdain, thinking that if she has a pretty face, she will get away with everything. He can't wait to see her suffer, and his gaze is full of malice. He is perplexed by the fact that that same Kyung-chul ran away and does not understand what happened. Those who hurt others always pretend that nothing happened and calmly forget about it. He still sees them, and when he closes his eyes, he is overcome with horror. Jang Sam, whom he beat up, still continued to smile no matter what. He remembers what it was like when they voluntarily sold themselves into slavery in his place. He shouts that his mentor is an ordinary mediocrity, a worthless girl. The king himself threw him out just because he lost to this upstart. He understands that since it is not inner strength, it is all about brute force. The servant shouts in panic that they have already started fighting. He trained without rest until he achieved perfection and was born with flawless beauty. He acquired a perfect body to match her, and now everyone is horrified by his appearance. He hopes with a devilish smile that they have had enough of admiring this handsome man. The young man panics and shouts at So-yeon to run because they have to leave together. He easily blocks her diagonal left overhand, but she doesn't give up. He deflects both her straight right and her chain punch, and she is shocked by his power. She may be as furious as Ju Peng was back then, but her power is simply incomparable. If So-yeon hadn't told him their names, he wouldn't have been able to parry a single blow. She tenderly says that she will look after him until the very end. Tanhe mockingly says that she missed and the fun is over. The guards are already approaching, and it's time for her to return to the hotel. She is perplexed by the fact that the guards are already here, and this means that she tried so hard to get this thing, and her boss should be grateful for the rest of his life. These two idiots actually threw away their weapons here, and it's like losing your soul. She realizes with a devilish smile that the sword of the sun and moon is now completely unarmed. She threatens that she will soon catch him, and she will fix it for him. So far, he's been doing a pretty good job of dodging, but he hasn't attacked her even once. He can't defeat her, and now he must accept his fate. Shouldn't a swordsman have a few tricks up his sleeve to get out of a jam? He's panicking because he might have figured out their plan and is just gathering his strength. The young man cries out in despair that he needs reinforcements, but his opponent is sure that this will not save him. Baek Seol-hwa suddenly appears, and everyone is shocked by her rabbit ears. They jump back and forth in positions you'd only expect to see in some kind of dirty picture. He holds her in his arms with difficulty, asking if he has to hold her like this. She is furious that he dares to hide his inner energy and dodge her attacks. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, asking if she can see. The casino manager is shocked by what is happening, not understanding why the gentleman is in the clouds. They'll destroy our entire casino while they're running, and if they don't stop, they'll cost a pretty penny. It turns out that he is running around the hall without even using his internal energy and is using the guest as a shield. He decided to save his strength and mock them, and this makes him very angry. He orders that everyone be mobilized immediately and that he be ensured that he does not escape. We need to do everything possible to ensure that they wear each other out in this fight. Reinforcements have arrived, and the young man looks at his enemies with a devilish smile. They are horrified by his creepy face and cannot believe that he has finally shown his true face. He mockingly says that they are trapped and suggests that they surrender to save their lives. He says it wouldn't have come to this if she had just talked to him. She orders him to obey or lose his precious companion. He is at a loss to understand what they are doing now and what she has been muttering from the very beginning. What difference does it make if a few more small fry get involved? He delivers a crushing blow, and his opponent barely manages to dodge. He must protect So-yeon no matter what it takes, because there's no escaping it anymore. Suddenly, Baek Seol-hwa appears, and her appearance saves him from certain death. She throws him his sword, and he realizes that this is his only chance. A flash of light blinds everyone around him, and he struggles to keep his balance. The manager screams in horror that his casino is destroyed and everything just exploded. He is in a panic because his eyes are burning and does not understand what is happening. The manager is horrified by what the hell is going on here and cannot contain his anger. Baek Seol-hwa calls out to her lover with a flirtatious smile. He looks at her in surprise, and then at the girl with blue hair. He doesn't understand why she caught him red-handed with two girls at once. He tries to justify himself in a panic, but Baek Seol-hwa looks at him with disdain. She is furious at how he can say such a thing, because this is all because of Kyung-joel. He doesn't understand what she's talking about, but her face has literally become a sheath for a sword. He is relieved to realize that she is okay and hugs her tenderly. He decides to hell with it all, and it's time to put an end to the culprit of all this chaos. He decides to report what happened to his master, and silence reigns in the hall. He is horrified that Dan-hae did all this and cannot believe her betrayal. It turns out that the warehouse was attacked, and all of their people who were in ambush were also killed. Everyone is horrified that everything has gone wrong because of this damned crazy sword demon. The casino manager flatteringly says that it must be some kind of misunderstanding. The young man shouts with delight that finally someone understands him. He insists that they didn't mean any harm and that they started all this themselves. He menacingly reminds about the bills for treatment and salaries for the staff. He thought he would be angry, but he gave him a huge bonus for their troubles. He found out that there was a reward on the woman's head, and now luck was on his side. He has a better idea and looks at his victim with a devilish smile. She was a little worried when he suddenly disappeared. And now she was here. The world is harsh these days, and in the world of martial arts, an ordinary person without ingenuity and the ability to run away in time will get nowhere. The blue-haired girl asks for another cup of green tea, although she doesn't seem to care much. They greet the dragon priestess, Lady So-yeon, with delight and are glad to see her in good health. She was beside herself when she suddenly asked for an advance and rushed straight to the gambling house. Judging by her reaction, she had no bad intentions, and her intuition turned out to be very useful. Lately, she had started to enjoy traveling, and that previous encounter with the mad sword demon had helped her a lot. She apologizes, saying that it was an exceptional case and she was only acting as his protector. The mad sword demon has been imprisoned and everyone is shocked by the news. The head of the council is the one who carries the will of heaven and bestows it upon everyone around him. He is the one who serves faithfully day and night in the province granted by His Majesty. Before answering, he says that he is the father of all the people who are under his protection. The young man, with a polite smile, asks permission to rise and is thanked for saving him. He doesn't understand what monstrous thing could have been forgotten in this remote province. Tanhei shouts with delight that they have come for the reward, and her eyes are shining with excitement. She is furious that this good-for-nothing has not yet given the reward to these great heroes. The pink-haired girl points to the boy, saying that she is talking about the reward for him. She proudly claims to have captured the chaotic sword demon, but no one believes her. She reveals that he has been captured and orders him to report to the martial arts union immediately. Tang He, nicknamed Phoenix, from the great Tang clan of Sichuan, is the future strongest in the world, an incomparable beauty and the greatest genius. The young man asks ironically if she would like to receive a reward for him. She offers to say that she caught him and take him to the council, but he reminds her that his reward was not set by the magistrate but by the Murim Union. There is a branch of the union in Shanxi, and it will take 2 weeks for them to receive news and come for him. And then she'll show up in a mask, burst in and pull him out, and voila, easy money. He looks at her in bewilderment, not understanding where she gets such brilliant ideas from. He states with determination that this is a scam and he will not go along with it. The pink-haired girl is furious that he keeps saying the same thing every single day. She claims that this is not a scam, but a legitimate compensation. He looks at his companions in surprise and does not understand what is happening here. She asks what he is doing here with it, and he replies that Hayul will be here for 2 weeks. She demands round-the-clock visits for the next 14 days, and her words come as a shock. He can't believe that she fell for this girl's sweet talk, and he's ashamed of himself. The young man realizes with annoyance that he gave in to her pressure and allowed himself to be fooled. In a sense, this is the Murim's doing, and since the Murim Union is also partly to blame, it has nothing more to say. She confidently says that there is no need to worry, because we are talking about the poisonous phoenix Dan He. Baek Seolhwa angrily declares that if he screws up this time, she will personally drive his head into the ground. Tanhei looks at them with contempt, not understanding what they are afraid of here. This isn't the headquarters of the Murim Alliance, and at best, they'll send a couple of righteous men to help. Suddenly, a mysterious stranger appears and everyone is shocked by his appearance. She confidently states that whoever shows up there will be a bunch of weaklings.